A gateway leads to the demon realm.
A yellow snake flicks its tongue.
The snake spots a distant scrop.
3 root creatures emerge for Lef.
The yellow snake reacts with surprise.
Glowing eyes peer from the darkness. The snake lunges forward with claws. An unseen narrator wonders who will emerge victorious as the yellow snake and the root creature spar.
The eagle-headed man predicts an obvious victory while the skull-masked woman notes the intensity of the fight.
The snake is startled by them.
The skull-masked woman shouts in excitement as the yellow snake successfully evades a strike.
The snake lets out a confused beep. A tense, silent standoff follows.
The snake whimpers in frustration. The snake flees in defeat.
The skull-masked woman acknowledges that Sasa put up a decent effort during the match.
The black-haired man notes that they had another big match today. He asks the eager root creature to be patient while he finishes preparation.
He sits peacefully in the meadow.
The man laughs while applying moisture cream to the delighted root creature.
The brown-haired girl asks her uncle how long it will take for the food to be ready. The cook enthusiastically promises a delicious meal as he tosses ingredients over high flames.
He decides to include the girl's basket of eggs while she cheers with polite.
A sudden, loud crack sounds as he cracks the eggs into the pan, impressing the young girl who cheers for his skill.
The cook proudly presents the completed dish to the girl who is excited to eat.
He instructs the girl on the final step of sprinkling sesame seeds.
The black-haired man is called to come quickly as the food is announced. The spectators react with surprise.
A plate of special fried rice shines.
The group gathers at the table as the cook invites everyone to enjoy the meal while the girl thanks him. The girl experiences a cosmic burst of flavor after taking her first bite.
She stands up to praise the delicious meal while the cook encourages her to eat even more.
The cook blushes with pride when the skull-masked woman praises his culinary talents.
The black-haired man tastes the dish. He notices that the root creatures have already fallen fast asleep.
The feast continues as the eagle-headed man enjoys the food and the skull-masked woman asks for a second serving.
The black-haired man smiles contentedly. He reflects on the unique nature of life within the demon realm.
A peaceful sunset bathes the Mao.
A red rift splits the sky.
Darkness spreads from the jagged portal.
Narrative text explains a gate opened and brought destruction from a world later named the demon realm.
Ferocious and cruel monsters cross over to bring ruin to the human world.
Narrative text explains that some chosen ones awakened as hunters to fight back against the threat. These beings awakened mana and gained special abilities to combat the beasts.
Thanks to the hunters, humanity was finally able to launch a counterattack. Although many problems still remain, cities were rebuilt and some were able to enjoy a normal life again.
Hunters continue to stand guard to stop the constant threat of monsters pouring in. Hunters engage a massive multi-eyed beast. Narrative text notes that the number of naturally awakening hunters was unfortunately too small.
The narrator introduces the artificial life.
A glowing red eye pierces through.
The creature confronts a massive explosion.
Experiments use inmates and animal corpses.
Vials contain minerals and monster cells.
Failed experiments litter the laboratory floor.
New chimera hunters develop in tanks.
Science and hunters achieve ideal results.
A construction crane towers over ruins.
The technician complains about having one last subject to check before he can finally go home.
One scientist warns the other to stay away, but he is told the creature is harmless because its brain is broken.
A researcher notices the creature's mangled right arm and wonders if it was a side effect of the experiment.
They decide to perform a cursory check because the creature is destined to be discarded soon anyway.
Chained, the chimera waits in iteration.
A high-ranking supervisor asks how much longer the experimental subject has to live.
The staff members confirm that the creature has a month at most and they both agree on the assessment.
The superior orders the creature's deployment to guard the rear when the other hunters retreat during the gate operation.
The creature lingers in oppressive darkness. Battle erupts in the gaming realm. A watchful eye sits on its car. Energy beams slice through the sky.
An explosion ravages the distant terrain.
A horrific beast emerges with fury.
The chimera leaps toward its enemy.
Sharp claws carve through Monster Clash.
Energy builds within its open maw. A devastating blast of energy erupts. Violent lightning strikes the monster horde. Destruction fills the desolate mountain region.
The group of spectators is amazed that an S-class chimera hunter could annihilate so many monsters with a single attack. A blonde hunter notes that the gate has remained open for 3 days, but his companion tells him not to worry. He remains confident that they can hold out indefinitely as long as the S-class chimera is with them.
A hunter slashes a flying monster.
The red gate pulses with energy.
A system alert confirms that the red gate's disappearance signal has finally been detected.
The commander orders an immediate retreat for the entire group through the closing gate.
A powerful strike shatters the shield. A female hunter asks if they are taking the chimera, but the brown-haired man tells her to leave it behind.
The man explains that they were told the creature's lifespan was already over.
Despite the woman feeling guilty, the man reminds her that the artificial creatures are practically inorganic beings.
The chimera reflects on the fact that beings like him only exist to follow orders and serve their master.
The monster's pincer crushes his art.
The narrator defines them as monsters.
A giant beast looms over him.
The monster unleashes a final scream.
Blinding blue light consumes the scene.
Green ichor drenches the fallen were.
The dying creature notes that the retreat route is successfully secured and the mission is complete.
Its final thoughts linger on the impossible hope of returning home.
The creature acknowledges that a return is not permitted for things like him.
Over 1,800 monsters lay defeated. The black-haired man's unrecorded human past, including his kidnapping at age 9, begins to surface in his mind. Memories flash by like a film reel, though his damaged brain struggles to grasp their meaning.
He calmly watches his life play out.
The gray-haired man asks the young black-haired boy how many times he has hit a friend with a stone just for teasing him, while the boy remains silent.
Banished from the District 13 orphanage, the boy walks alone through the falling snow.
While the boy lies freezing in the snow, men in a black van heartlessly calculate the monetary value of kids in the slums.
Strapped to a table, the boy faces a needle as he is questioned as a new experimental subject.
Scientists confirm the boy is subject number 17 and note that spells have been cast to prevent his escape.
A researcher orders the injection of S+ class silkworm larva cells into number 17 to record the results.
The scientist watches intently for a reaction as the needle enters the boy's arm, which is tattooed with the number 17.
Researchers are shocked to find no side effects as the boy maintains his ego and human form while gaining special abilities.
The supervisor notes his unique constitution and orders continuous monster cell implantations until a physical reaction occurs.
Scientists gather around the subtext bed.
The young man stands amidst rubble and survivors, manifesting a glowing blue orb of power in his hand.
A massive 3-headed wasp monster attacks.
A flare of blue energy erupts. A gloved hand reaches through fire.
A grateful woman holding a young girl thanks the young man for saving their lives.
A soldier apologizes for placing such a heavy burden on a child, but the black-haired young man simply says it is fine.
He pauses, confused by his thoughts.
Standing among monster corpses, the young man wonders why he is there and what he was doing just now.
The man with glasses asks number 17 why he stopped and if his memories have become confused. The scientist laughs with delight as the side effects finally begin, while the young man questions the meaning of his words.
A record is kept of the 15-year experiment involving over 500 types of monster cell implantations. Subject number 17 is declared the lab's greatest success, now an S-rank monster chained to a chair with white fur and sharp teeth.
A gloved hand offers a slab of raw meat to the creature. Whoa! The blonde woman is startled when the monster lunges forward to take the food.
Spectators watch the monster eat while a father covers his son's eyes, telling him not to look at the gross sight.
3 days ago, a storm raged.
The dying creature notes that all missions are finally complete.
A massive crevice glows under sunset.
Light emanates from the skeletal remains.
Narrator notes that Chimera Hunter number 17 has had 527 types of monster cells implanted.
Muscle fibers pulsate and grow.
A brilliant white explosion consumes everything.
The black-haired man awakens in his human form and wonders if he is human once again.
He stands naked in the wasteland. He realizes he isn't fully human since his monster claws remain, and he notes the lab hasn't come to retrieve him yet.
Noticing the experiment number on his wrist has vanished, he wonders if he is finally free from the laboratory's control. He attributes his transformation to the cells of immortal-type monsters like the phoenix and jellyfish, which allow revival if the core is intact. Despite the supposed impossibility of fusing human and immortal cells, the man is glad his body has recovered to peak condition. He reflects on his optimal state, noting the hazy fog and control spells in his mind have completely disappeared.
The memory of his life as a chained chimera remains. The man with glasses tells Chon Do-won that despite his rough nature, he should try to live helping people.
Chon Do-won scoffs at the advice, calling it bullshit and questioning how an orphan from the slums could help anyone.
Standing against the jagged cliffs, he contemplates his next move and wonders if he should seek revenge.
He concludes that revenge requires a target directly in front of him.
Chon Do-won stares ahead, acknowledging there is no current way for him to return to the human world.
He decides to put off further thoughts until the time comes, walking away into the desolate landscape.
Chon Do-won stands naked, overlooking a vast valley at sunset.
The black-haired man realizes he needs to find clothes.
He walks across a desolate, cracked desert landscape.
Arriving at a lush riverbank, he wonders what material he can use for clothes.
The black-haired man decides to scout the area from the bushes. He discovers a dead winged beast and wonders if it died in a territorial dispute. He examines the monster's carcass and determines poison was the cause of death. The man decides to use the creature's hide for leather.
He uses a sharp tool to begin harvesting the hide.
Brandishing a jagged bone blade, he notes that a sharp edge makes the work easier. He recalls his laboratory training on the proper way to skin a subject. As he cuts into the carcass, a sudden surge of purple energy surprises him.
A thick, poisonous aura erupts from the fallen beast.
Unaffected by the toxin, the man complains about the smell and the need to wash the hide.
He proudly holds up the freshly harvested gray fur.
The black-haired man washes the monster's hide in the clear river water.
He finds the monster hide to be far too stiff and rigid.
A powerful strike slams the hide against the ground to soften it. He pauses, questioning his own leather tanning techniques before deciding it should work.
He holds up the now soft and clean gray fur.
The man checks the size of the hide against his back while standing over the carcass. Suddenly, the dead bird monster springs to life, startling the man.
He delivers a swift punch to the creature's head to silence it.
Having finished a basic fur tunic, the man assesses his work.
He smiles, pleased that the new outfit fits his body perfectly.
He notices a lingering purple stain and realizes the poison hasn't fully drained from the fur.
Despite the annoyance, he decides to wear it as the small flaming bird creature revives.
The small monster gasps for air, appearing to understand the man's words.
He realizes the creature must also be an immortal type to have survived such trauma.
He reflects that he no longer feels the need to kill weakened monsters as he once did.
Chun Do-woon smiles at the bird, suggesting they both try to live well in their second lives.
He walks away, leaving the bird behind with the hope that they might meet again.
Standing inside a dark cavern, he decides his next priority is finding a home.
A massive, multi-legged centipede monster emerges from the darkness with a shriek.
The man looks up at the towering beast, wondering if the cave is simply too dark.
With a single strike, he annihilates the monster and rejects the cave as a home.
He travels through a freezing mountain range covered in snow and pine trees.
A ferocious white Yeti monster roars a challenge. Walking past several defeated Yetis, he rejects the snowy peaks due to the lack of food. He encounters a grove of foul-smelling mushrooms and rejects the location immediately. He discovers a stunning clifftop view overlooking a massive waterfall.
Intrigued by the scenery, the black-haired man leaps down to explore the valley below.
He lands beside a pool of clear, rushing water. He observes many fish swimming in the crystal-clear water.
Large monster fish leap from the water and he imagines they would be delicious to eat.
He envisions building a cozy cabin by the water, considering it an ideal spot for a home.
Beautiful yellow flowers bloom under the bright blue sky.
The man notes the clean air while looking at the lush greenery.
He stands amidst the sunlit trees, content with his discovery.
Chun Do-woon smiles as he officially designates the forest clearing as his new home.
Sunlight bathes the peaceful mountain valley.
Blue electrical sparks flicker midair.
A swirling dark portal opens.
Objects plummet through the portal.
A white robot stands alone.
The robot wonders if it has arrived in the demon realm.
Narrative text notes that flowers exist here.
Chun Do-woon likes the area, noting the sound of the waterfall and estimating a 10-minute walk to the valley. The black-haired man notes that he first needs a site to build his house.
He uses energy threads to fell massive trees. Looking at the fallen logs, he decides this much space should be enough for the site.
He uses his powers to gather the good-conditioned trees separately. Standing in the clearing, he wonders if the floor is too uneven for his house.
With a heave-ho, he strikes to paths.
He observes the leveled site and is pleased that it will get good sunlight. He decides to plant pillars at each corner first.
He wonders if this feeling is what they call free will and decides it is fun, questioning if it is because he is building his first house.
The black-haired man begins laying planks on the floor.
He decides to use snail-type monster mucus instead of nails for building the walls.
He notes that once the mucus hardens, it will be as solid as rock and act as a form of waterproofing. He prepares for the finishing touches.
Chun Do-woon smiles with great satisfaction.
Looking at the completed cabin made of logs and silk, he finds it quite cozy and decides he likes it. He feels like something is missing and that the house is a bit lacking.
A man in a lab coat explains to a class what a regular house looked like before the gates opened.
Recalling educational videos from the lab, the black-haired man remembers that they usually grew something in the yard.
He acknowledges that he cannot raise human-world dogs in the demon realm.
He considers making a vegetable garden, but wonders what he can plant in the demon realm.
He remembers there was a snowy mountain nearby.
Narration explains that mandragoras live in mana-dense snowy peaks as the black-haired man walks through the snow.
He notes it was snowing heavily the day he was kidnapped to the lab.
He recalls that the cold was so intense that kidnapping felt like a relief, though he notes some good points about becoming a chimera. Narration notes that these plants can die from minor environmental changes. He decides that younger, more adaptable individuals would be better and plans to take just 3 roots.
He expects the mandragoras to scream and regrets not covering his ears.
He pulls a root and is confused when it does not scream.
He pulls another root, which makes a soft sound.
He pulls one more cute mandragora as it makes another soft sound.
He holds 2 small mandragoras in his hands. Narration explains that in the low-mana human world, mandragoras scream and die if forcibly pulled out.
He wonders why they are not resisting or desperately trying to escape his grasp.
He realizes they are calm because mandragora cells were also implanted in his own body. He decides that it works out well if they are less stressed while tucked into his pup.
He imagines asking for root tendrils for tea or eating their fruit as a snack once they have grown well.
He remembers the fruit becomes extremely poisonous if picked forcibly, and decides he will have to persuade them nicely.
Hearing distant screams, the black-haired man notes there are hunters nearby and wonders why they came to the dangerous snowy mountain.
Chun Do-woon smiles and considers going to grab some gate stones quickly. One hunter yells that they were used as bait and warns his injured companion to snap out of it because the monsters are coming again.
White, multi-eyed wolf monsters leap toward the desperate men. A hunter holds up a blue energy shield as the white beasts lunge, letting out a sharp grunt of pain. The injured hunter grits his teeth as a shower of blue sparks erupts around him. He desperately struggles to maintain a failing energy shield against a pack of snarling white monsters, lamenting his decision to take this job. Through the cracks in his fracturing barrier, the man wonders why he ever volunteered to search for the Chimera. The defensive field shatters into shards as a white beast lunges, causing the hunter to recoil in terror while a sharp crunch sounds. A sudden, powerful discharge of blue and black energy rips through the snowy air with a vibrant flash. A massive white explosion craters the ground, throwing up a cloud of snow and debris. The white monsters suddenly halt their assault, staring in bewilderment as a heavy silence falls over the clearing. A silhouette emerges from the clearing dust, revealing Chan Do-woon standing calmly before the survivors.
One of the multi-eyed white beasts growls low in its throat, appearing hesitant to approach the newcomer.
A terrifying, shadowy presence with glowing yellow eyes looms over the area, and a chilling greeting echoes through the red-tinted atmosphere. Chun Do-woon watches as the pack of monsters suddenly panics, their terrified screams filling the woods as they flee.
Stunned by the sudden turn of events, the hunters find it impossible to believe that high-rank monsters would run away at the mere sight of one man.
The pair introduces themselves as Oh Seung-ju and Kim Tae-hoon before asking for the name of their savior, who identifies himself as Chan Do-woon.
Kim Tae-hoon examines the black-haired man, noting he has never heard the name before and wonders if he is a reclusive hunter.
He observes the man's simple outfit and assumes he must be a low-rank hunter who is unaware of the mountain's dangers.
The hunter mentions a high-reward mission to capture an escaped chimera, sparking a flash of recognition in the black-haired man's eyes.
Kim Tae-hoon explains the target is an escaped mechanical test subject that fled into the gate, leading Chan Do-woon to realize they aren't looking for him. Noticing the man has no supplies, the hunter questions how he expects to survive or return without a gatestone. Oh Seung-ju clutches his blood-soaked arm, realizing that their companions intended to use them as bait from the very beginning.
As he recalls being abandoned by a smiling hunter, Chan Do-woon resolves to track down the group that holds the gatestones.
The desperate men explain they are reaching their limit and fear the onset of mana contamination. A visualization shows the deadly effects of demonic energy, noting that humans will perish without purification, though Chen Do-woon is an exception. Oh Seung-ju begs for help to see his pregnant wife again as the black-haired man detects a faint signal nearby.
A sudden, powerful leap kicks up a cloud of snow and leaves, startling the two hunters as someone takes flight.
Chan Do-woon soars high above the pine trees, his eyes fixed on a distant target.
He spots a small white robot standing alone on the snowy peak.
The machine creature looks out over the landscape, sensing the growing danger in its surroundings. A group of hunters charges toward the robot with shields raised, shouting orders to capture it immediately. Red lights flash from the robot's head as it identifies the attackers as dangerous threats and prepares to defend itself. The small machine engages the hunters in a chaotic skirmish amidst the swirling snow and energy blasts. Chan Do-woon arrives at the battle site to find the hunters have already fled. He examines the abandoned gear and notices a strange mix of child and animal footprints left in the snow.
He recalls the description of the experimental subject that escaped from the laboratory.
A conceptual image shows several creatures merging into one, explaining that the rare material for the chimera resulted in its small, diverse form. The black-haired man chuckles to himself, impressed that the small creature managed to overwhelm 5 high-rank hunters. Back in the forest, Oh Seung-ju collapses as dark veins of contamination spread across his skin, and he gasps out a final message for his family. His companion tries to keep him awake, urging him to hold on for the sake of his unborn child, as a faint rustle sounds. Kim Tae-hoon looks up in shock as a bright light begins to illuminate the dark woods.
Chun Do-woon reappears, now heavily laden with the abandoned luggage of the hunters who fled.
A rhythmic crunching of boots on the crisp snow signals his approach. Overcome with relief, the uninjured hunter falls to his knees and begs the man to save their lives.
When the black-haired man notes he doesn't have a stone, the hunter frantically searches his pockets.
He offers 2 checks worth 20 million won as payment, pleading for a single gatestone to get them home.
Chun Do-woon is taken aback by the high value of the checks offered for a simple stone.
He reaches out and presents 2 glowing blue crystals to the desperate man. A swirling blue portal opens behind them as the hunter bows in deep gratitude, vowing to never forget the favor.
As the pair heads for the gateway, Chan Do-woon gazes at the checks in his hand.
He asks if the price of gatestones has changed, only to learn that the current market value is much higher than he remembered.
He looks down at the injured man, feeling as though the payment he received was far too generous for the task. He places a steady hand on the dying man's shoulder, a bright blue aura of healing energy beginning to pulse from his fingertips.
Chun Do-woon begins injecting his mana into the fallen hunter. Taehoon watches in disbelief, knowing that even elite A-rank hunters fear such a dangerous procedure. If the conflicting energies fail to harmonize, their internal mana cores will shatter, ending both their lives instantly. The hunter realizes they are on the brink of total destruction.
A wave of relief washes over Seongju as he feels the corrupting demonic energy vanish from his system.
The two hunters embrace in a tearful frenzy of joy upon realizing they have survived. One hunter remains stunned, finding the miraculous purification of demonic energy through direct mana injection to be utterly impossible.
Seongju prostrates himself in deep gratitude, swearing never to forget the favor he owes his savior. Taehoon concludes that Chun Do-woon must possess an unfathomable and overwhelming amount of mana to pull off such a feat.
The black-haired man contemplates his next nez. Returning to his clearing, Cheon Do-woon is relieved to find his simple log cabin undisturbed. He reflects on his successful outing, pleased with the unexpected treasure he managed to acquire. He notices the mandragoras in his belt have started to stir but look withered. Fearing the long journey has taken a toll on them, he decides to plant the 3 roots immediately.
He gently tucks the small roots into the soft earth of his new yard.
The mandragoras look visibly upset, letting out low, mournful drones as they settle into the soil.
Noticing their lingering sadness, the black-haired man wonders if they are homesick or simply exhausted. He realizes they might be starving after being removed from their mana-rich mountain habitat.
He extends a glowing finger to offer them a direct infusion of his mana.
The mandragoras instantly cheer up, glowing with health and joy as they absorb the energy. He smiles, acknowledging that even these small plants are truly creatures of the demon realm.
A sudden, sharp sense of being watched catches his attention. A small, multi-eyed mechanical creature peeks out from the foliage, watching the man with glowing yellow eyes. Chun Do-woon wonders why this strange machine is following him.
Entering his cozy cabin, the black-haired man begins sorting through the supplies he gathered from the fleeing hunters.
He lays out an impressive haul of outdoor essentials, including gate stones, cooking gear, and much-needed bedding.
His eyes widen as he finds a packet of spicy ramen, a flavor he hasn't tasted since his childhood years in the orphanage.
Driven by nostalgia and hunger, he decides to cook the ramen immediately.
He heads to a nearby stream to fetch water, carefully trying to estimate the correct amount for the recipe. Suddenly, a massive, fanged fish erupts from the water with a splash.
Seeing the aggressive beast, he recalls that many people like to add extra ingredients to their soup.
With a swift motion, he catches the giant fish, deciding it will make a perfect addition to his meal.
Following the recipe's suggestion for eggs, he spots a nest of large monster roe and decides they are a suitable substitute.
Lacking fresh onions, he climbs a tree and harvests some vibrant green leaves to complete his wild recipe.
He carries the pot filled with fish, roe, and greens back to his cabin, satisfied with his foraging.
The mechanical creature watches from the shadows, its internal systems rumbling as it observes the man preparing to cook.
He sets the pot on his new log table and prepares to boil everything together over the portable burner.
The mandragoras in the yard sniff the air curiously as the pot begins to simmer.
An ominous, dark purple steam begins to waft from the pot, making the mandragoras look nauseous. The black-haired man wonders if the smell is normal, as his childhood memories of the dish are quite faint.
The thick, dark aroma drifts deep into the surrounding woods. The robot creature catches the scent and begins to drool, mesmerized by the prospect of food.
Recalling data from the laboratory, the creature decides to use human sentiment to its advantage.
It transforms into a scruffy brown poodle and fakes a limp, hoping to evoke pity from the man.
The mechanical dog approaches the table with a pitiful whine. Chun Do-woon stares blankly, fully aware that this is the same machine that has been stalking him.
He deduces that the creature is trying to lower his guard with its cute appearance and feigned injuries.
Despite its obvious deception, the creature acts with adorable enthusiasm. He wonders how such a sophisticated chimera managed to cross over into the demon realm. The dog waits expectantly, its eyes fixed on the steaming pot. The finished soup is a chaotic swirl of dark energy and monster parts, yet the man wonders if it will taste better than it looks.
The unlikely pair sits together, slurping down the strange, dark noodles in a moment of quiet companionship. As he takes a bite, the flavor triggers a rush of distant emotions, while the creature watches him with confusion.
A vision of the past flickers in his mind, showing a group of happy children gathered around a steaming pot of ramen in a humble orphanage.
He remembers the burning heat and simple joy of the first time he ever tasted the spicy noodles.
He smiles softly to himself, confirming that the flavor matches the warm memory he has held onto for years. The thick, dark fumes continue to billow from the clearing as he declares the meal delicious, much to the dog's surprise.
Nearby, the mandragora succumb to the toxic smell, gagging and doubling over in their patches. After his meal, he heads to the waterfall to clean up and do laundry. He grumbles about his dislike for pollen-covered clothes, determined not to live like a caveman in his leather rags.
He slams his laundry down with such force that a massive shockwave erupts, shattering the ground beneath him.
A colossal, jagged pillar of stone shoots up from the impact site, leaving him standing in stunned silence.
He sighs, telling himself it is fine as long as he has one set of clothes remaining. He spots a nearby rock that sparkles with life and realizes the mechanical creature has changed its form yet again. He wonders why the persistent machine refuses to leave his side.
Chun Do-woon washes his pot in a stream as a curious fish walks. The log-shaped machine continues its persistent stalking while the man admires the yellow flowers.
A panicked buzz fills the air as a bee chases the clumsy robot across the grass. Its optics flare with a menacing red light as it identifies a new threat.
The mechanical creature hides its face behind a tree, hoping to remain unnoticed by its target. It attempts to mimic human appreciation for nature with stiff, robotic speech about the flowers.
Chun Do-woon holds up a pristine white t-shirt that sparkles with cleanliness.
He expresses quiet relief that at least one of his garments was salvaged from the fleeing hunters.
He decides to hang the shirt on a line despite it appearing a bit small for him.
The mechanical creature immediately claims the fresh laundry, sliding its metallic limbs into the fabric. It insists that it also requires human clothing to truly fit into its new surroundings.
The robot strikes a dramatic and proud pose, fully satisfied with its borrowed appearance.
A sudden radiant glow signals the beginning of a mysterious and magical transformation.
It successfully assumes a perfect human form, standing tall as a young girl in a white shirt.
Nearby, the Manjoras look dehydrated and quite miserable in their dry patch of earth.
He begins tilling the rough, rocky ground to prepare a better home for his supernatural plants.
His digging accidentally unearths several aggressive worms, much to his concern for the Mandragora's safety.
He calculates the dimensions of his future vegetable garden while standing in the clear morning light.
A shy young girl peeks from behind a tree, greeting him with a soft and hesitant voice.
He welcomes his mysterious new visitor, realizing she is the creature he had been watching.
She asks about his log cabin with wide, curious eyes while he confirms it is his home. He considers playing a harmless trick on her as he notices her nervous behavior.
He asks which tribe she belongs to, causing her to jump in startled surprise. She fabricates a story about a distant home beyond the waterfall to hide her laboratory origins.
She enthusiastically confirms her membership in the fictional Coconut Tribe as she tries to act natural.
She asks for permission to live in his clearing, explaining she has nowhere else to go.
She bows deeply, pleading for his acceptance while promising to be a helpful companion.
He mentions the area as remarkably free of bugs, which seems to pique her interest further.
He realizes that beneath her energetic exterior, she simply needs a safe place to rest.
She enthusiastically pledges to follow any instructions he gives her in exchange for his hospitality.
He tasks her with tilling the vegetable patch as her first official duty in the garden.
She unleashes her terrifying and immense strength, tearing through the earth with incredible speed.
He notes her complete lack of restraint, realizing she has no idea how a normal child acts. He introduces himself and asks for her name, curious about how she identifies herself. He recalls the pretty yellow flowers and suggests her name should reflect their simple beauty. She proudly declares her name as Kim Nari, beaming with joy at her new identity.
A sturdy stone fence now surrounds the freshly tilled garden plot in the center of the clearing.
The Mandragoras rejoice, bouncing happily in the soft, rich soil of their improved home.
He is baffled by her sudden tears as she watches the small plants play together.
She explains through sobs that seeing the Mandragoras reminds her of the friends she left behind.
He finds it unlikely that a laboratory experiment could have meaningful friendships, but remains quiet.
A terrifying and violent screech suddenly pierces the peace of the clearing, echoing from the woods.
She identifies a small creature in desperate trouble, her expression shifting to one of intense worry.
He confirms the brutal reality of the demon realm where monsters hunt each other constantly.
She expresses deep concern for the helpless victim and begs for a way to intervene.
He challenges her to act on her compassion, asking if she truly wants to save a monster.
He suggests they investigate the disturbance together, offering her a chance to prove her strength. She rockets toward the source of conflict, her small feet barely touching the grass as she flies.
Massive mosquito monsters swarm a defenseless round white creature pinned to the ground. Nari delivers a powerful kick to the attackers, shouting for them to stop tormenting her new friend.
With her orange eyes burning with determination, Kim Nari declares her resolve to save the small creature.
A memory from the laboratory shows 3 test subjects huddled in a dark hallway, fearful that they will be discarded for high failure rate experiments if they do not rank first in the next battle.
A torn plush toy lies abandoned on the cold laboratory floor as a desperate plea to be allowed to live echoes through the halls, followed by a heavy thud sounding.
Returning to the present, Kim Naris's foot strikes the ground with enough force to cause a massive boom, shattering the earth beneath her.
A colossal K-boom erupts as Kim Nari launches a powerful blast of energy to disperse the swarming mosquito monsters and stop their cruel attack.
Her face contorted with anger, the brown-haired girl shouts that a group of people tormenting a single person is an unforgivable act. She delivers a final, earth-shaking blow that wipes out the last of the insect attackers with a loud crash echoing.
Kimnari runs toward Chun Do-woon while cradling the unconscious round white creature, frantically asking for his help as a soft tap sounds on the grass.
The black-haired man looks down in surprise, his mind flashing to a vision of a legendary fiery bird as he begins to recognize the true nature of the small beast. Kimnari continues to sob, begging Chun Do-woon to do something because the injured creature will not wake up while a frantic wah escapes her. A soft sigh escapes Chun Do-woon as he walks across the clearing, calmly agreeing to take a closer look at the unconscious bird. A resonant hum fills the air as the black-haired man places his hand on the creature's head, releasing a blue magical glow to confirm that its wounds are not fatal. A magical DNA strand flickers into view as Chun Do-woon realizes that despite its shrunken size and lighter color, this is the same legendary monster from his past. He identifies the round beast as the immortal type monster he once encountered, and a mystical whir sounds as his magical energy probes its body.
A thoughtful hum escapes Chun Do-woon as he wonders why the beast shrank so much and if its regeneration differs from his own. Kimnari watches him with wide eyes, asking if the bird is actually dying.
He reassures the girl that the creature is not dying, explaining that it simply shrank after becoming severely malnourished from a lack of food. Kimnari stares at the creature in silent concern.
A flicker of the past shows the white robot creature in the laboratory hallway, cradling a smaller version of its friend.
Kimnari holds the creature up with both hands, noting it is as limp as a rice cake and will surely die if they leave it alone. A faint squeak comes from the beast as it dangles in her grasp. A gentle chuckle is heard from Chun Do-woon as he warns her that the beast might grow quite large, but Kimnari promises to train and feed it well if he lets her keep it.
A bright gasp of excitement escapes Kimnari as she realizes he has granted her permission to care for the creature.
The round white creature suddenly opens its eyes and recognizes Chun Do-woon, letting out a sharp gasp of shock as it recalls their previous encounter.
The creature looks terrified while Nari remains oblivious.
The bird-like creature lets out a startled eek as Kimnari lifts it high into the air, while it wonders how a human girl could possibly be living in the demon world.
Kimnari cheers that the bird is finally alive, while a muffled ugh comes from the struggling beast as it begs to be released from her tight hug.
A loud halt booms in Chun Do-woon's mind as the bird screams for its freedom, leaving the man stunned to realize that he can perfectly understand its telepathic thoughts.
Kimnari announces that she has finished treating the bird, and a clumsy thud sounds on the table as the creature, now covered in heavy bandages, grumbles about being unable to move.
Kimnari decides to name the creature Ku because of the sound it makes. A grumpy humph comes from the table as Ku demands to be let out of the bandages while Chun Do-woon approves of the name.
A heavy splash douses the bird as Kimnari pours an entire pot of water over it, mistakenly thinking its cries mean it is thirsty. Ku indignantly insists that it already has a proper name.
A watery glug bubbles from the creature as it puffs up like a blowfish. Chun Do-woon realizes the girl has no idea how to care for it and tells her to stop before she drowns it.
Chun Do-woon decides to build a store tavern.
A quick slash slices through the wood as Chun Do-woon uses a sharp blade to measure and cut the logs for his new storage cabinet. A sharp snap echoes as a large piece of the wood unexpectedly shatters and falls off the log.
A curious huh escapes the black-haired man as he stares in confusion at the ruined piece of wood, wondering why his previous methods failed.
A wise tisk comes from the bird as it explains that the wood he chose is a soft variety, pointing out that the color of the bark is a key indicator of its strength. A dry humph sounds from the table as Ku mocks Chun Do-woon's ignorance before asking him which color of wood is actually the strongest.
Chun Do-woon ponders the idea of using ripe wood. A mysterious hum vibrates from the bandaged creature as its yellow eyes glow with power, determined to read the man's mind. A psychic pulse waves through the air as the bird initiates its telepathic ability. A sudden crack shatters the telepathic connection as Chun Do-woon notes that he doesn't see any red wood in the immediate area. A panicked gulp follows as Ku realizes in shock that the man not only blocked its telepathy, but can also hear its inner thoughts perfectly. Chun Do-woon explains that he does not hear it in a traditional way, but rather that the bird's words simply appear in his mind.
A nervous gulp sounds as Chun Do-woon points out that it is far more unusual for a monster to be able to understand human speech in the first place.
The black-haired man realizes that he is dealing with a rare and intelligent monster. A soft ah escapes Chun Do-woon as he asks the bird if they have met before, prompting Ku to admit that it had been hoping for a reunion. A lonely step sounds as he walks away, while Ku confesses that it wanted another chance to help him if their paths ever crossed again. Chun Do-woon asks for help immediately. A confident flap of wings sounds as Ku offers to guide the black-haired man to the location where the red trees grow.
A roar of fume follows a massive explosion as a younger Kim Nari runs in terror from a burning laboratory, shouting her hatred for the facility.
Kim Nari screams in terror as flames surround her, her brown hair flowing wildly as she cries out that it's hot. A violent explosion erupts, sending a massive boom through the canyon as the earth shatters beneath the force.
Trembling with fear, Kim Nari cries that the laboratory has come to capture her, sobbing about her paralyzing hatred of fire.
The long-haired man tracks a signal on his device, noting he has found the shape-shifting creature. He walks through the inferno, admitting he feels uneasy about attacking a child, but must complete his mission. Declaring that his own life is at stake, the hunter launches a massive wave of flames with a powerful whoosh. Kim Nari lets out a terrified scream, weeping as she realizes she is trapped and helpless against the heat.
As the heat intensifies, Chon Do-woon calmly admits he only wanted to finish his cabinet and eat while a soft sigh escapes.
Chon Do-woon steps forward to block the flames with his bare hand while Koo perches on his shoulder. Behind him, Kim Nari huddles on the ground, shivering with a soft whimper.
Koo's eyes glow with a mysterious hum as it promises to reveal the location of the trees later, insisting that saving the kid comes first. Chen Do-woon's eyes mirror the golden light as they prepare to act.
The black-haired man notes Kim Nari's unstable mental state as she curls up, pleading for the fire to go away while a soft shiver racks her body.
Chon Do-woon decides to put the fire out first, while Koo agrees that anyone who bullies a child is a complete scumbag.
The hunter mocks Chon Do-woon's caveman-like appearance, asking whose side he is on before warning him to leave while he can. Chon Do-woon simply retorts that the man talks too much.
Enraged by the man's confidence, the hunter screams for him to get lost as a massive wall of fire erupts with a deafening roar.
Two lethal pillars of flame surge forward, scorching the ground with a violent hiss as the attack is launched.
Chon Do-woon calmly points his finger and releases a brilliant blue spark that triggers a massive, world-shaking boom as it collides with the fire. The hunter is stunned by the sudden counterattack, gasping in shock as his flames are instantly neutralized.
Debris flies everywhere as a desperate cry for help escapes the hunter, who is overwhelmed by the sheer force of the impact. From a distance, a massive crater is revealed in the canyon floor where the battle took place, and a soft wish of wind settles the dust.
Kim Nari wipes her tears away, realizing with joy that her uncle has successfully extinguished the terrifying fire.
The long-haired hunter lies face down in the dirt, unconscious and defeated, while Chon Do-woon approaches with a steady tap of his feet.
Reaching down, Chon Do-woon grabs the hunter's long black hair, deciding to knock him out again if he wakes up.
A sudden slurp sounds as Chon Do-woon pulls on the man's hair, only to have the entire scalp lift away.
Chon Do-woon stares in blank confusion at the wig in his hand, letting out a bewildered "huh" as he realizes the truth.
The defeated hunter lies bald on the ground, his head shining brightly in the sun as he mourns the loss of his hair.
Chon Do-woon remains paralyzed with shock, still clutching the wig as a confused question mark appears in his mind.
The wind whistles over the bald hunter's head, which reflects a blinding light into the sky.
Chon Do-woon wonders if the guy was bald the whole time, while Koo mocks him and Kim Nari watches with wide eyes. A burst of joyous laughter escapes Kim Nari as she declares that being bald is hilarious, her fear completely forgotten. Kim Nari cheers that she isn't scared anymore, teasing the baldy while Chon Do-woon watches her with a weary expression. Chon Do-woon notes that the hunter was never a match for Kim Nari's spirit, his focus returning to his tasks with a soft tap of his fingers. Koo explains that mental resonance allows them to peek into someone's memories, its eyes glowing with a mysterious hum as it initiates the power. A dark memory reveals a scientist in a white lab coat laughing maniacally while standing before a wall of glowing computer screens.
The sinister scientist grins, his glasses reflecting a bright glare as a wicked chuckle escapes him.
A blue blob-like creature trembles in a lab tank, its creator noting that it has finally developed a sense of self.
A hand wreathed in blue flames reaches out toward the terrified experiment, commandingly telling it to come closer with a sharp crackle.
A violent flash of energy shatters the memory, signaling the end of the psychic probe and the return to reality.
Chon Do-woon praises Kim Nari for her hard work, gently patting her head while noting that her trauma will take time to heal.
Looking at the bald man, Chon Do-woon asks what they should do next while Koo perches on the hunter's head, prompting an excited "ah" from the girl. Kim Nari strikes a proud and heroic pose, her hair blowing in the wind as she celebrates her victory. The scene shifts to a waterfall where the bald hunter has been tied up and hung upside down, doused by a heavy splash of water.
Kim Nari giggles that the fire's gone for good if he stays wet, while the miserable hunter laments that this isn't what he expected from the demon world.
Kim Nari calls him a bad bald uncle, while Chon Do-woon reminds her not to judge people solely on their looks, even as the hunter cries out in despair.
Chon Do-woon watches Kim Nari's energetic recovery, thinking that she might bounce back from her trauma much faster than he thought.
Chon Do-woon wades into the river to gather water for ramen, while Koo flaps its wings and asks what he is doing with a soft rustle. Chun Do-woon confirms he is making fish ramen, sparking a wave of pure excitement in Kim Nari, who cheers that his cooking is the absolute best.
Kim Nari claims her tribe loves ramen as she dives into the water with a loud splash, her enthusiasm overwhelming the clearing.
The bald hunter watches from his hanging position, realizing with a cold gulp that Chun Do-woon is at least an A-plus class hunter.
As Kim Nari splashes in the background, the hunter wonders if the man is even stronger and simply hiding his true ability.
Chun Do-woon continues his chore, thinking he needs more water for 3 people, while the hunter assumes he is a recluse working off the grid.
Kim Nari leaps from the water with a massive splash, triumphantly holding 2 giant toothy fish while shouting that she caught their dinner.
Chun Do-woon offers a compromise by asking for just 1 fish, while Kim Nari excitedly shouts for him to hurry and toss it into the pot.
A nervous sweat breaks out on the bald hunter's face as he worries the monster fish will ruin the broth and wonders why so much water is being used.
The hunter questions if they even understand how to make ramen, while Kim Nari runs toward Chun Do-woon with joy, cheering that it is finally time to eat. Kim Nari stops suddenly with a wide-eyed expression as she watches the cooking process while Koo perches on her head.
Struggling against his restraints, the bald hunter begs to be let down so he can take over the cooking himself.
A dramatic spotlight illuminates the clearing as the hunter stands at the table, preparing to show off his culinary skills.
Trembling with focus, the hunter holds a disc of dry noodles, realizing that his very survival might depend on this meal.
An intense silence falls over the clearing as Chun Do-woon and Kim Nari watch with glowing eyes, making the hunter feel like it is a matter of life or death.
The hunter realizes that he must stick to the basics and cook with absolute sincerity since he does not know any fancy techniques.
The water boils vigorously in the pot, reflecting the hunter's determined face as he prepares the meal.
Formal instructions appear on the screen detailing the precise steps of adding the noodles and soup base before cooking for exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Monitoring his heart rate at 60 beats per minute, the hunter calculates that the perfect time to finish is after exactly 270 heartbeats.
With a thunderous shout of air shower, the hunter's shout of air shower, the hunter flings the noodles high into the air with his chopsticks to cool them instantly. The golden noodles glisten and stretch through the air, looking incredibly springy and perfectly cooked. The hunter smiles with satisfaction, thinking that while he lacks kimchi in the demon world, he has given his absolute best effort.
A digital display evaluates Namgi-sak's Sincerity Ramen, showing exceptionally high scores for flavor alongside a balanced profile of protein and fat.
Chun Do-woon offers the first taste to Kim Nari and Koo, who both notice that it looks much more refined than Chun Do-woon's usual cooking.
A quiet slurping sound fills the air as the 3 of them sit around the wooden table, tasting the hunter's creation.
A sudden realization hits them as they eat, their eyes widening in complete shock at the quality of the meal. A heavenly vision overcomes them as they imagine themselves floating among angels in a golden city while a bell chimes with a loud ring. Kim Nari cheers that the food is amazing, while Koo wonders if humans eat such delicacies all the time, prompting Chun Do-woon to admit he is impressed.
A soft cock escapes Koo as the bird lies on the table, completely full and satisfied after finishing the meal.
The hunter nervously asks if the food suited their tastes, surprised to see that they have already completely emptied the pot.
A bewildered huh escapes Namgi-sak as he stares in silence at the group, waiting for their final verdict.
Chun Do-woon admits that the meal was too good to have for free, offering to do anything the hunter asks for in return.
A heavy thud echoes as Namgi-sak drops to his knees and slams his head against the ground, desperately begging Chun Do-woon to teach him.
Namgi-sak explains his desire to become strong, leaving Chun Do-woon confused about why he is being called by that name and what the man wants to learn.
Prostrated on the grass, the hunter calls Chun Do-woon the strongest person he has ever met and assumes he is a high-level hunter on a long-term mission.
Namgi-sak shouts that he has various cooking certifications and can make excellent fried chicken to prove his usefulness to the group.
The hunter begs to be a runner for supplies, offering to handle the hassle of traveling through the gate for clothes and food in exchange for lessons.
Declaring his goal to reach A-class rank, Namgi-sak is interrupted when Chun Do-woon asks why he attacked Kim Nari in the first place.
Kim Nari tilts the empty pot over her head to get every last drop, while the hunter insists that rank and training are more important than any reward. Namgi-sak shouts that nothing else matters as long as he can pass the hunter rank test and improve his skills.
Chun Do-woon agrees to a spar, causing Namgi-sak to cry tears of gratitude while thanking his new mentor as Hyung.
A loud tang sounds as Kim Nari slams her pot onto the table, interjecting that she wants to be the one to spar instead.
With a determined look, Kim Nari declares that she wants to try putting out the fire herself this time. Namgi-sak laughs joyfully at the child's spirit, while Kim Nari watches him with a grumpy and competitive expression.
Chun Do-woon addresses Namgi-sak and points toward a large, dark object, asking if the man is capable of breaking it. The hunter scoffs that it would take an A-class hunter to break obsidianite just before a massive explosion shatters the target with a deafening boom.
Kim Nari stands defiantly on a stool with swirling water magic at her fingertips, calling out the Baldy uncle to begin their match.
A title card showcases the series title, The S-Class Hunter Who Heals with Monsters, alongside the official production credits. A flashback reveals a younger Nam Ki-sok walking through a city at sunset, noting that he was once a highly promising natural awakener. A surprised look appears on a younger Nam Ji-sok's face as he discovers his fire ability, an exceptionally rare occurrence for someone of his age.
Years later, Nam Gi-sok trains at Testing Ground Number 12, unleashing a powerful wave of flames with a fierce shout.
The narrative explains that his combination of talent and effort allowed him to reach the B+ hunter rank before he even turned 20. Bathing in the shower, Nam Gi-sok dreamed of becoming the greatest hunter in the world, feeling as though his life was perfect.
A confused "huh" escapes him in the shower as he suddenly notices a strange and unsettling change beginning to happen. Staring in horror at his wet palms, Nam Gi-sok realizes that large clumps of his long black hair are falling out.
The scene shifts to a dark room where it is explained that at the very age most people begin to awaken their powers, he began to go bald.
Clutching his thinning hair in despair, Nam Gi-sok screams in agony as a phone on the floor glows with an unanswered call. Nam Gi-sok insists he has enough money to afford another transplant, but the doctor bluntly tells him it will only fall out again and advises him to give up.
Leaving the hair loss clinic dejected,
He stares ahead with dead eyes. An official announcement confirms that Nam Gi-sok has been disqualified, leaving him to lament his failed dreams of reaching A rank. Lying defeated among trash and alcohol.
A news report mentions interesting research.
The interviewer notes the rarity of liquid metal, while the doctor explains that a spill on someone's head led to a breakthrough in mechanical life.
Removing his hat to reveal a full head of hair, the elderly doctor laughs that his hair grew back even though he is nearly 90.
Nam Gi-sok questions the truth of the report while the interviewer asks if a baldness cure is next, reminding the hunter of the demon world's mysteries. As the doctor discusses serving humanity by creating more mechanical beings, a desperate Nam Gi-sok questions why he won't prioritize a cure.
Screaming in frustration, Nam Gi-sok demands that the doctor focus on a cure while the television discusses a prestigious award.
A few days later, he discovers news that the liquid metal creature has fallen into the demon world, sparking a shocked reaction.
Entering the lawless world to scavenge, he vows to find the Mel. Current reality hits him quite hard.
Nam Gi-sok laments the child's terrifying strength while Kim Nari cheers for another win, prompting a disappointed tsk-tsk from Chun Do-woon.
Chun Do-woon warns that poor performance will cost the hunter his shuttle duty, prompting a desperate promise from Nam Gi-sok to do better. Chun Do-woon admires his newly finished redwood cabinet while Koo notes that it is sturdy enough to be used for a very long time.
The hunter admires the man's courage.
He scoffs at his own deaning.
His hands burn with renewed energy.
Nam Gi-sok wonders if his energy returned because he removed his wig before shouting at Kim Nari to begin another match.
Kim Nari prepares for battle as Chun Do-woon thinks to himself that the girl is clearly far from an average child.
Nam Gi-sok charges forward with a flaming stick while shouting that he will win this time, though Kim Nari tells him to bring it on. Magic and fire collide in air.
The hunter is shocked when his attack is doused, realizing with horror that his flames have completely liquefied.
He is slammed downward with force.
Nari delivers a powerful magic strike.
Laughing joyfully, Kim Nari declares that she is no longer afraid of fire and offers her sincere thanks to the hunter for the lesson.
Still embedded in the wall, the hunter laughs that he may have reached his ceiling at B rank and admits he is out of techniques. Refusing to give up, the hunter vows to get back up, wondering where else he could find such a perfect opportunity to spar. Nam Gi-sok stands up battered but determined, begging Kim Nari for just one more match while refusing to quit. Treading softly with a light tap, Chun Do-woon asks how many days it has been since his arrival, which the hunter confirms is day 9.
Chun Do-woon warns that the demonic energy will soon become fatal at his current level, making the hunter admit that he understands the risk.
A surprised Emmi escapes the hunter as Chun Do-woon encourages him by stating that he possesses true A-rank potential if he gives his all.
Nam Gi-sok admits he has failed the A-rank test for 6 years, but Chun Do-woon insists he has room to grow because his mana hole is underdeveloped.
A thunderous shout of gratitude echoes as Nam Gi-sok promises to give his all while Chun Do-woon vows to make him an A-rank hunter.
A low hum of magic sounds as Nam Gi-sok prepares to fetch ramen through a portal while Kim Nari cheers for her favorite food. Snickering with a devious hee-hee, Nam Gi-sok tells the girl to train well before asking Chun Do-woon if he has seen his missing wig.
Chun Do-woon asks if things will be okay, leaving Kim Nari confused while Koo remains silent.
Kim Nari warns that a betrayal could be dangerous and asks Chon Do-woon if he can read the man's memories to be certain of his intent. Thinking back to the hunter's sincere plea, Chon Do-woon thinks to himself that he likes the man's honest and sincere nature.
Do-woon considers him a worthy investment. Chon Do-woon proudly notes how tidy the house looks after building the cabinet, though Kim Nari points out that the interior is quite dark.
Do-woon offers to craft a window. A sharp zip of light sounds as he begins cutting into the wooden wall with a massive blade.
A quick thud sounds as the wall pieces fall, prompting Kim Nari to cheer that the new brightness is exactly what they needed.
Cheon Do-woon explains that they will need a light source for the night, leaving Kim Nari to wonder how they will acquire such a thing.
Cheon Do-woon details how glowing crystals can be placed on the ceiling to provide light, describing them as stones that naturally shine in the dark.
Floating with a soft swoosh, Koo asks if they even know where to find the stones, which Cheon Do-woon confirms are located in volcanic zones.
Koo reveals that the nearby region is its original home, but Do-woon wonders why the bird looks so gloomy about returning.
A light tap sounds as Nari gently squeezes Koo's cheeks with both hands.
Nari worries that the bird sounds upset, while Do-woon realizes the girl is incredibly perceptive. Do-woon plans to head to the volcanic zone alone for everyone's safety, but Nari refuses to stay behind. Nari declares she is no longer afraid of fire, surprising Do-woon with her rapid growth.
A soft flutter sounds as Koo decides to join the trip to handle personal business.
Do-woon prepares to craft specialized gear before they brave the extreme heat.
The scene shifts to a terrifying volcanic landscape where a hidden monster lurks.
A piercing cry echoes across the scorched earth.
The story pauses as the production team seeks more talented hands for the journey ahead.
The volcanic region is officially known as one of the 3 most dangerous areas in the demon world.
Harsh conditions make every breath a struggle against toxic fumes and demonic energy.
Koo twitches in annoyance at the stifling heat. Koo watches in disbelief while Nari splashes playfully in the lava, much to the group's confusion.
Do-woon reveals that he was once a chimera hunter. A glimpse into the past shows a monstrous form that eventually regenerated into its current human appearance.
Flapping wings sound as Koo admits being around hunters isn't so bad, even though it's a monster. Do-woon smiles warmly, feeling relieved by the bird's answer.
Splash sounds as Nari runs through the lava, asking if Do-woon is speaking with Giro. Nari celebrates with a joyful giggle. Do-woon notes that the luminous stones should be near the lava flows, signaling they are close.
A sharp gasp escapes Nari as she spots the massive volcano.
Nari cheers excitedly upon finally reaching the summit.
Looking over the edge, Do-woon prepares to search for the stones.
They spot the luminous stones in the crater, along with a massive orange fire toad.
The giant toad appears to be shedding tears. Nari urgently points out a second fire toad lying further ahead in the crater.
Do-woon identifies the second toad as a female because it is carrying a clutch of eggs.
Koo explains the unique breeding anatomy of female fire toads and their sunken backs.
The bird laments that the eggs will perish because the crater's temperature is fatal to them.
Nari pities the surviving toad for losing its friend.
A quick thud sounds as Do-woon leaps into the crater, leaving a confused Nari behind.
A thunderous boom echoes as Do-woon lands right in front of the mourning creature.
Nari screams for Do-woon to return as the toad lets out a low gurgle.
Do-woon stares down the massive beast with calm resolve.
A fierce roar erupts as the fire toad unleashes a point-blank blast of flames. A deafening boom sounds as the fire consumes the area. Do-woon emerges unscathed, reaching out to touch the toad's head. The toad collapses as Do-woon tells it to stay still for a moment.
Do-woon explains he used a trace of paralysis toxin that won't harm the immune creature.
Nari calls out in concern, but Do-woon assures her that he is perfectly fine.
Do-woon explains his own immunity due to having toad cells while mourning the dead female.
The golden eggs sit perilously on the back of the fallen toad.
A sharp gasp escapes the toad as its eye snaps open.
The orange toad lets out a confused croak.
A soft nudge sounds as the survivor touches its fallen companion, seemingly saying goodbye.
The toad's sharp claws brush against the other's skin.
Nari cries out in wonder as the toad suddenly takes flight with the eggs. A powerful swoosh sounds as the fire toad soars away from the crater.
The toad glances back one final time before disappearing into the distance.
Kim Nari stares in wide-eyed shock as a sudden gulp sounds.
A boing sounds as the fire toad leaps high into the air with the eggs while the group watches.
A heavy thud sounds as a hand lifts a glowing stone from the ground.
Kim Nari cheers with delight as she heaves a large luminous stone above her head.
Chon Do-woon warns Kim Nari not to drop the stone on her foot while she admires its beauty, realizing it is a genuine luminous stone. The glowing stone is placed into the back with a dull thud.
Chon Do-woon asks if Koo is tired, prompting the bird to complain about its former life of playing with such stones as if they were toys.
Chon Do-woon asks the bird if it brought gifts for its friends.
Koo angrily denies having friends and claims the gifts are merely things to be left behind rather than intended for a meeting. Koo insists it does not miss its kind, but merely regrets not saying goodbye properly when it departed.
Koo reflects on the benefits and drawbacks of gaining intelligence, recalling when it used to wonder about the colors of its environment.
A flashback shows Koo being scolded for eating a scorpion, making it realize that communication with its own kind was useless.
The firebird stares out at a massive flock of its own species. A stone is kicked into a dark, narrow crevice.
Koo explains that its kind likely didn't notice its departure because they lack comradeship, while Kimnari cheers for Koo before struggling to pull a stone ruse.
A sudden slip sounds as the bird loses its footing near a charcoal. Kimnari discovers a cracked monster egg in the ground and questions what species it could be.
Kimnari worries the egg is broken, wondering if Koo hit it with one of the luminous stones. Chun Do-woon explains that a healthy baby must break the shell itself to grow strong, leaving Kimnari to ask for their next move.
Kimnari suggests taking the egg to prevent it from roasting in the heat, but Chun Do-woon is hesitant about what might hatch.
Chun Do-woon considers a perfect spot for a nest nearby, admitting he is curious about the creature inside. Cheon Do-woon decides to take the egg while Kim Nari cheers, though Koo questions their sanity for keeping such an unknown thing.
Koo scolds the group for dropping a luminous stone, but they can only offer a weak defense.
Chun Do-woon smiles and promises to ensure the egg's safety.
Arriving at their log cabin under a clear blue sky, the group celebrates being home. Kim Nari asks her brother where he has been, while Nam Gi-sok notes their quick time.
Nam Gi-sok offers to carry the heavy luggage for Chon Do-moon.
Nam Gi-sok boasts about his strength while taking the bag, though Chun Do-woon warns him it is heavy. A strained escapes Nam Gi-sok as he struggles with the weight, prompting Chon Do-woon to ask what he was carrying that was so heavy. Kim Nari asks Nam Gi-sok why his face looks so battered and dirty.
A group of firebirds stares with wide, curious eyes. The birds peck at scattered food on a red wrapper.
Cheon Do-woon expresses surprise that Nam Gi-sok got beaten up, while the hunter admits Nari hits him constantly, much to the man's disbelief. A quick tip-top sounds as Nam Gi-sok rushes to serve food to the hungry group.
Kim Nari asks what the man is crafting, and Chon Do-woon explains he is shaping glowstones into a lamp. Chun Do-woon describes hanging the pretty lamp from the ceiling, leaving Kim Nari in awe.
Kim Nari praises Chun Do-woon for his intelligence and teaching skills, which surprises him.
Kim Nari considers the man to be very kind-hearted as she recalls his actions at the volcano.
Kim Nari happily notes that he is just like her father.
Chun Do-woon asks if her father is doing well in the coconut tribe, causing Kim Nari to give a nervous confirmation.
Koo complains about the stifling heat while resting on the ground.
A small creature approaches the resting bird. The creature stares with bright red eyes.
Small creatures pounce on Koo, declaring their triple snuggle formation ultimate move.
A tap-tap sounds as Koo asks the small plant monsters what is wrong with them while they huff in response.
A plate of fried tofu pockets is presented, with a status window showing they are Nam Gi-sok's heartfelt creation with a high taste score. Nam Gi-sok admires the impressive appearance of the simple tofu pockets. Chun Do-woon admits the food looks decent, while Kim Nari praises the meal, and Nam Gi-sok encourages them to eat. Chun Do-woon demands to know what happened to the hunter's face, making Nam Gi-sok hesitate.
Chun Do-woon summarizes Nam Gi-sok's troubles, noting he was teased for failing 7 times and got into a fight. Kim Nari asks if there is more food, while Koo notes the meal is sweet and soft. Dejected, Nam Gi-sok admits his peers told him to stop hanging around and muddling the waters.
Nam Gi-sok explains that they kept pushing his buttons and asking if his pride fell out with his hair until he couldn't take it anymore. Chun Do-woon listens thoughtfully while resting his chin on his hands.
Chun Do-woon asks if he just shaved it rather than being completely bald. Nam Gi-sok reacts with a sudden flinch.
Nam Gi-sok rants that hair loss is a medical mystery and his follicles are still active, pointing out his hairline. Chun Do-woon sheepishly apologizes for his comment. Chun Do-woon asks when the promotion exam is scheduled. Nam Gi-sok answers that it is in 60 days.
Chun Do-woon suggests it is time for some special training. Nam Gi-sok eagerly agrees to do whatever is necessary.
Kim Nari and Koo slump over the table, groaning that they haven't had enough food. Nam Gi-sok is shocked by the completely empty dishes.
Chun Do-woon points to a bag and tells Nam Gi-sok to wash all the leftover glowstones because they are covered in volcanic ash. Nam Gi-sok asks for clarification in disbelief.
Nam Gi-sok questions if this is really special training. Chun Do-woon tells him he can just live the rest of his life as a B-class hunter if he doesn't want to do it. Chun Do-woon tells Kim Nari they are going fishing to help with digestion. Kim Nari cheers with excitement, while Nam Gi-sok calls out to his senior in despair. Nam Gi-sok reaches for a plate, convincing himself that there must be a reason for this task.
Nam Gi-sok grunts as he struggles to lift the heavy bag, reflecting on how everyone thinks he's some kind of natural-born genius.
Nam Gi-sok declares that he is a man who clawed his way to B-class through sheer effort. He stands tall against the setting sun.
A firm thud sounds as Nam Gi-sok plants his foot, thinking of himself as a man of diligence and perseverance who trusts his decisions to the end.
Nam Gi-sok runs into the forest to catch up with Chun Do-woon, thinking that his senior is a kind, cool man who has everything. Chun Do-woon and Kim Nari sit by the riverbank with their fishing rods. Kim Nari yawns and complains that the fish aren't biting.
Kim Nari notes that all the fish are going toward Chen Do-woon. A splash sounds as Nam Ki-sok is pelted by jumping fish, screaming for help.
Chun Do-woon sighs, thinking about Nam Ki-sok requires far too much supervision.
Chun Do-woon tells Nam Ji-suk to put up a mana shield, but the hunter admits he keeps practicing during training without much success. A light rattle sounds as Chun Do-woon reaches into the bag of glowing stars.
Chun Do-woon hands a glowstone to Nam Gi-sok and tells him to just hold it. Nam Gi-sok wonders why he's being given a stone so suddenly. The stone emits a bright flash, causing Nam Gi-sok to gasp in shock. A heavy boom sounds as the stone hits the ground. Nam Gi-sok realizes his arm is weak from demonic energy, which Chun Do-woon explains is condensed inside some glowstones. Chun Do-woon explains that demonic energy is raw, unrefined power that must be pushed out with mana before one can use their own power properly.
Chun Do-woon taps Nam Gi-sok on the chest with his finger.
An anatomical view shows mana circulating through a body. Chun Do-woon notes that Nam Gi-sok is just unskilled at controlling it.
Chun Do-woon tells Nam Gi-sok that a path should have opened up inside him. Nam Gi-sok gasps as he feels the shift.
Chun Do-woon instructs Nam Gi-sok to focus his mana and try lifting the stone again.
Nam Gi-sok grunts with effort as he strains to lift the heavy object.
Nam Gi-sok cheers triumphantly as he lifts the glowstone high above his head. Nam Gi-sok realizes that the chores were a master plan for his mana training. Chun Do-woon tells him to keep channeling mana while he handles the dishes from now on.
Nam Ki-sok eagerly agrees, declaring himself a domestic man who can polish anything to a shine as he stands by a waterfall.
The scene shifts to the log cabin standing quietly under a bright full moon.
Inside the cabin, a glowstone lamp hangs above the sleeping group while Koo rests in a dresser drawer.
A soft rustle sounds as Koo wakes up, regretting an earlier nap while the cracked egg sits nearby.
A faint movement sounds as Koo notices a silhouette moving in the dark room.
Chun Do-woon watches from his bed, wondering where Kim Nari is going so late at night. Chun Do-woon continues to wonder where the child is heading in the middle of the night.
Kim Nari stands knee-deep in the river under the moonlight, looking down at the water. A splash sounds as Kim Nari tells herself it will be clean after she washes it. Chen Do-woon and Koo watch her from the trees.
Chun Do-woon asks why she is doing laundry at night. Koo scolds him for being a dense fool and points out that Kim Nari has no other clothes to change into.
A splash sounds as Kim Nari finishes her task, declaring that the stain is finally gone.
A soft step sounds as Chun Do-woon watches her, wondering if he has been too neglectful of the child.
Kim Nari stands proudly in her clean, white, oversized shirt, feeling perfect now that the laundry is done.
A rustle sounds as Chun Do-woon and Koo approach, commenting on how nice the night air feels. Kim Nari asks what they are doing there.
Chun Do-woon claims he was just out for a walk with Koo. Kim Nari quickly lies and says she is also on a walk.
Kim Nari looks up and admires how pretty the mite is.
A sudden rustle sounds as Kim Nari grabs Chun Do-woon's leg while a scream echoes through the forest. Terrified, Kim Nari asks what the sound was while Chun Do-woon looks toward the source. A chirp sounds from a steel locust, identified as a B-class monster. Chun Do-woon reassures Kim Nari it was just a grasshopper and suggests going home, though she admits she was startled.
Chun Do-woon asks Kim Nari if there is anything she needs, such as new clothes or shoes, but she notes that he has already provided her with some.
Kim Nari insists she is happy with her current outfit, and Chun Do-woon accepts her decision.
A glowing aura appears near the District 13 slums as Chun Do-woon reflects on Kim Nari's humble response.
As he walks through the city barefoot, a murmuring sound rises from the crowd while Chun Do-woon worries that Kim Nari's ill-fitting clothes are insufficient. He considers bringing Kim Nari along, but concludes her trauma and the tracking device on her body make the human world too dangerous for her right now.
A soft step sounds as Chen Do-woon finds it amusing that he is using a gate stone just to buy children's clothes while searching for a shop.
A quick top sounds as a hand tugs at his sleeve and someone asks if he is searching for a clothing store.
A young, messy-haired boy offers to be a guide for a small service fee of 10,000 won.
The boy assumes Chun Do-woon is a penniless rookie hunter who got swindled in the demon realm. A sudden turn sounds as the boy tells Chun Do-woon to follow him to a shop. A wide grin sounds as the boy claims he is making a special exception for his pathetic-looking customer, and Chun Do-woon offers a polite thanks.
The boy decided to call him his senior as they walked through the increasingly safe-feeling slums.
The boy asks if he has only recently awakened since his lack of experience is so obvious.
He explains that coming out of a gate without any gear makes it clear he was robbed by thugs.
Chun Do-woon notes the boy's wisdom while the child tries to offer some words of encouragement.
A loud shout sounds as the boy clarifies he is 17 and only short due to malnutrition.
The boy points out District 13 and warns him to avoid the dangerous area where gangs loiter. He explains that even the police have abandoned District 13 to local gangs, while they are currently in District 12. A cold stare sounds as Chun Do-woon hears the name of a local gang and looks toward the dangerous district. Cheon-do-woon wonders if the orphanage where he once lived still stands in the heart of District 13.
A heavy sigh sounds as a blonde woman laments the difficulty of running a business in the slums.
A swirling wind sounds as she considers closing the store since young couples can no longer afford to raise children.
Bong-soo arrives and calls the woman an old lady, earning a loud roar and a demand to be called his elder sister.
A curious hum sounds as Cheon-do-woon reflects on the novelty of shopping while Bong-soo introduces him to the shop owner.
A quick grab sounds as Boss Park scolds Bong-soo for bringing in more customers with no money to pay their taps. She asks if Cheon-do-woon looks like a man with wealth, while Bong-soo notes that the man is at least handsome.
Bong-soo reminds her of her promise to help those who remind her of her late brother, but she fears going homeless.
The two argue until Cheon-do-woon interrupts their bickering to get their attention.
A bright sparkle sounds as Cheon-do-woon presents a massive check that leaves Bong-soo and Boss Park completely speechless.
A joyful cheer sounds as Boss Park immediately changes her tune, showering the group in sparkles and hospitality.
Cheon-do-woon explains he needs clothes for a preschool-aged girl and a few things for himself.
Overjoyed by the prospect of a big sale, Boss Park prepares to show them her newest collection.
She suggests coordinated sets while Cheon-do-woon and Bong-soo enjoy a meal and continue their silent approval.
A soft sniffle sounds as Boss Park rests among piles of empty boxes and long receipts, celebrating her sold-out stock.
Boss Park laments running out of stock after selling over 100 items and offers delivery, but Cheon-do-woon declines.
A crisp rustle sounds as Cheon-do-woon hands Bong-soo a generous stack of bills as a finder's fee.
Now dressed in clean clothes, Cheon-do-woon carries a massive sack through the city while Bong-soo reflects on the good feeling of shopping.
Bong-soo leads him to a safe, clean inn near a police station.
A creak sounds as Cheon-do-woon tells the boy to wait outside while he handles things at the inn.
Bong-soo begins to feel suspicious, wondering if there is a catch to the man's extreme generosity.
A heavy door sound rises as Cheon-do-woon returns and confirms the inn is high quality, causing Bong-soo to compare him to Boss Park. A soft thud sounds as Cheon-do-woon hands Bong-soo a room key and tells him he has already paid for his meals.
A rushing wind sounds as Cheon-do-woon prepares to leave through a portal and Bong-soo tearfully asks why he has been so kind.
Bong-soo stands in shock as the man prepares to depart through the glowing gate.
Cheon-do-woon reveals he once lived a life similar to the boys before offering a final goodbye. Cheon-do-woon arrives back at the clearing and tells Kim Nari he has brought her a present while Nam Gi-sok rushes to greet him. A heavy thud sounds as Koo is stunned by the sheer amount of clothing while Kim Nari looks on with excitement.
A quick rip sounds as Kim Nari cheers and pulls out a pretty new outfit while Nam Gi-sok realizes there is nothing for him.
Excited to try on her new gifts, Kim Nari rushes off while the cracked egg in the dresser drawer begins to rattle with life.
A light rattle sounds as the mysterious egg shakes violently within its bed of moss.
The scene shifts as the narrator reflects on finding a surprising sense of calm while getting serious about the chore. Outdoors, Cheon-do-woon sits peacefully at a wooden table folding the massive pile of new clothes while Koo watches.
Kim Nari calls out to get the man's attention, causing both him and the small owl to look up in surprise.
Stepping out into the sunlight, Kim Nari twirls in a pretty yellow dress and matching sun hat, feeling happy with her first choice.
Blushing with joy, the girl declares her intent to try on every single outfit in the massive pile.
A soft grunt sounds as Kim Nari struggles to figure out how to put on a pair of blue overalls.
Kim Nari drapes herself in an oversized white shirt and pretends to be a ghost, prompting the black-haired man to realize she is wearing his shirt. Cheon-do-woon shares a warm laugh with Koo, finding the girl's boundless excitement genuinely adorable.
Kim Nari strikes a proud pose in a white hoodie featuring a chick design, leading Koo to wonder if she chose it because it looks like him.
As Koo peers into the bag of supplies, Cheon-do-woon reveals he has been contemplating an expansion project.
Cheon-do-woon envisions building a massive walk-in closet for the cabin, though Koo worries about having to cut down more trees for timber. Cheon-do-woon explains he has someone else to chop the wood and calls out to Nam Gi-sok to offer him some special training. A heavy boom sounds as a sudden impact sends dirt and grass flying into the air.
Nam Gi-sok emerges from the dust in a dramatic pose, clutching a piece of gray fur and declaring his readiness for any challenge.
Bowing deeply, Nam Gi-sok presents the tattered gray fabric to Cheon-do-woon and thanks him for taking care of his training equipment.
Nam Gi-sok explains that the shirt is soaked in a deadly poison that nearly killed him, assuming it was a gift meant to test his resilience. Beaming with respect, the hunter praises his mentor's unique method of pushing his limits even in his daily life.
Taking advantage of the misunderstanding, Cheon-do-woon nonchalantly tells the man he is free to wear the poisonous garment.
Cheon-do-woon instructs him to use the shirt for wood chopping duty, but a sudden shout from Kim Nari interrupts the panicked hunter's protests.
Back inside the cabin, the group gathers around the dresser to witness the egg shaking more violently than ever before.
A sharp rattle sounds as Cheon-do-woon notes the creature inside is about to emerge, leaving Kim Nari and a terrified Nam Gi-sok on edge.
Nam Gi-sok fears a disaster-grade monster is coming, but Kim Nari remains sure that a cute monster will be born.
Through a jagged hole in the shell, a single glowing yellow eye peers out into the room with a sharp glint.
Kim Nari cheers as the hatching process begins in earnest, while Nam Ki-sok screams in wide-eyed terror. The panels reveal a set of sharp black claws, a long scaly tail, and a flickering serpentine tongue.
The narrator's tension peaks as the identity of the emerging monster remains a terrifying mystery.
A small yellow creature with large dark eyes and a flickering tongue appears, looking more curious than threatening as it sits in its shell. Nam Ki-sok is baffled by the creature's strange mix of bird and snake features, but Kim Nari is immediately smitten by its cuteness.
A quick tap sounds as the hatchling leaps from the drawer, shedding the rest of its shell in the process.
Everyone watches in shock as the creature with bird legs and a snake's body makes a sudden, high-altitude jump.
A soft thud sounds as the creature lands directly on Nam Ki-sok's face, leaving the hunter frozen in silent horror. A loud crash echoes through the air as the cabin shakes from the commotion of the hatching.
Outside, a miserable Nam Ki-sok carries a massive log while wearing the poisonous rags, wondering why the hatchling on his head is acting like a taskmaster.
Gritting his teeth, the hunter struggles against the suffocating effects of the poison as he continues his grueling labor.
The hunter wonders in awe how his mentor could have ever survived walking around wearing something so lethal. Cheon Do-won finishes folding the last of the clothes and stretches under the bright sun, satisfied with his productive morning.
Kim Nari happily cuddles the gentle new creature, which Cheon Do-won believes has bonded with her as its savior.
A sudden dash sounds as Cheon Do-won suggests the name Sasa, but the creature immediately sprints away at full speed.
Kim Nari chases the energetic hatchling across the field, much to the amusement of the watching men.
Cheon Do-won and Koo reflect on the creature's uniqueness, admitting they have never seen such a rare species before.
Koo's expression turns serious as he warns that a volcanic monster like Sasa might target the resident Mandragoras.
A curious rustle sounds as the leafy tops of several Mandragoras poke out from the soil, unaware of the potential predator.
A soft thud sounds as Kim Nari falls during the chase, while Koo explains that volcanic monsters view plant creatures as a delicacy.
A hungry hiss sounds as Sasa locks its gaze on the unsuspecting plant creatures.
Kicking up dust, the creature charges toward the Mandragoras with predatory intent.
The Mandragoras tremble in fear as Koo confirms that Sasa is indeed their natural enemy.
A tense standoff begins as the Mandragoras arm themselves with sticks to face the charging creature while the humans watch in confusion.
Kim Nari prepares to intervene and stop the fight, though Cheon Do-won simply remarks that it would be nice if they didn't fight.
The black-haired man suggests that the creatures need to establish a hierarchy.
He decides to observe as the small Mandragoras prepare to face the young hatchling.
A sharp glint sounds as the hatchling stares down a startled Mandrora. A sudden leap sounds as the narrator realizes the creature is targeting the smallest plant. A quick grab sounds as the hatchling's claws snatch a Mandragora's defensive stick.
The narrator questions if the Mandragoras are using a triangle formation for a counterattack.
A heavy strike sounds as the second Mandragora successfully launches its assault.
A swift swing sounds as a Mandragora attempts to strike the creature.
The young girl notes the creature's smiling face while the owl warns of danger.
A bright flare sounds as the owl notes the third Mandragora's impending attack.
A soft sob sounds as the bald hunter is shocked to see the hatchling climb.
A rushing wind sounds as the creatures flee while the man admits the plants won.
The bald hunter and the owl agree that the confrontation was surprisingly entertaining.
A quick tap sounds as the men prepare to return to their grueling construction work.
A loud splash sounds as a winged creature dives deep into the ocean.
A rushing wind sounds as the avian humanoid emerges from the blue waves.
The winged creature glares as droplets fall from its sharp golden beak.
A heavy thud sounds as the construction of the log wall continues.
A heavy strain sounds as the bald hunter carries a massive log under the owl's orders.
A wet slap sounds as the young girl joyfully coats the logs in green moss.
A crisp rustle sounds as the black-haired man carefully organizes his new clothes.
A light thud sounds as the bald hunter finally discards his tattered gray rags.
A joyful cheer sounds as the shirtless hunter celebrates the end of his ordeal.
A soft sniffle sounds as the exhausted hunter reflects on 2 sleepless nights of labor.
A heavy sigh sounds as the hunter kneels before the completed log wall in despair.
The black-haired man offers praise while the hunter seeks confirmation of his work.
A soft sniff sounds as the young girl notices a pleasant floral scent nearby.
Resting in the grass, the group finds peace in the calming scent of lavender. The man explains that the owl chose fragrant wood specifically for the cabin.
The Mandragoras sway happily while nestled together in the warm soil.
The young girl is pleased to see Sasa sleeping soundly on the mods.
The group discusses the new hatchling's name while the hunter questions its origin.
The black-haired man mocks the hunter's terrible suggestion of naming the creature Snakecheck.
The man rejects the girl's suggestion since it sounds too much like the owl's name.
A deep huff sounds as the owl demands respect for his own majestic identity.
The owl reveals his overly complex real name, which the man immediately finds hopeless.
A soft snore sounds as the group officially agrees to stick with the name Sasa. The black-haired man reflects on how his solitary life has changed since meeting everyone. A soft smile sounds as the man realizes his world is no longer empty.
He proposes building a sturdy fence to protect their home when he is away.
A low hum sounds as the man warns of potential S-rank monsters and intruders.
A quick top sounds as the owl suggests using sturdy, magically dense materials.
A soft bubble sounds as the owl describes a rare yellow quartz found underwater.
The man envisions a beautiful, glowing fence that creates a perfect camping atmosphere.
The girl cheers for a beach trip while the hunter reacts with utter terror.
A sharp gasp sounds as the hunter worries about the danger of the coast.
A joyful shout sounds as the hunter finds a perfect excuse to quit working.
A soft thud sounds as the hunter dramatically claims the poisonous shirt has drained him.
The man asks for clarification while the hunter warns of the area's high rank difficulty.
A heavy gulp sounds as the hunter recalls the disaster-level monsters ruling the beach.
Standing beneath a wide blue sky, the black-haired man and the shirtless hunter discuss the rumor of chimera hunters who escaped from a research facility long ago.
Their conversation continues as they note that these experimental beings possess bird-like faces while their bodies maintain a human form. A soft rush of wind sounds as a powerful avian humanoid with massive bat-like wings and a sharp beak soars through the air.
High above a grassy field, an aerial view reveals the tracker spotting their target and calling for the preparation of a tracking device.
A quick hum sounds as a man in black gloves focuses his energy, creating a glowing yellow ring between his hands.
A rushing wind sounds as the man hurls the magical ring toward the flying creature, leaving a trail of light in the sky.
A loud boom sounds as the ring strikes its target, resulting in a brilliant starburst of energy.
The avian humanoid quickly maneuvers away from the blast, leading the trackers to wonder if it is attempting a retreat.
Looking at the sky, the light-haired man decides not to chase yet, suggesting they wait until both creatures lead them to their hidden shelter.
A man with a dark beard and profile considers the creature's age, dismissing the chimeras as failed products that should have died decades ago.
The bearded team leader claims that chimera hunter production is humanity's greatest achievement and must not be tarnished by flawed specimens. A sudden gasp sounds as a blue-haired scout looks through his telescope and frantically calls out to his leader.
The scout's eyes widen in terror as the avian humanoid dives directly toward them from the sky. Panicking, the bearded team leader shouts for his subordinates to quickly install their defense barriers.
A heavy boom sounds as the soaring creature slams into the glowing blue energy dome protecting the group on the ground.
A sharp crack sounds as the barrier shatters under the creature's overwhelming force, leaving the team leader screaming in shock.
A low groan sounds as the team leader stares at the ground, realizing their defense barrier was broken in a single blow. The avian humanoid gracefully flips in midair, while the trackers realize they have made a grave misjudgment. A rushing wind sounds as the creature descends once more, flashing its sharp talons with predatory intent. Crouched on the ground, the terrified team leader yells for everyone to block the incoming attack. A heavy thud sounds as the young girl suddenly leaps into the air and punches the massive creature, warning him not to bully weak people. The avian humanoid is stunned by the girl's intervention, wondering if she is also a chimera.
A quick top sounds as the girl lands, while the black-haired man watches the scene from the background with a calm expression.
The young girl angrily accuses the bird-faced uncle of bullying, while the black-haired man suggests the roles might actually be reversed. A sharp beep sounds as the scout's device detects another mechanical presence, causing further alarm for the confused team leader. A soft pat sounds as a hand rests on the girl's head, though the narration notes a troublesome tracking device hidden on her body.
Looking closely, the black-haired man reflects on meeting a certain individual from his past once again.
A heavy thud sounds as the avian humanoid lands, asking the man if he remembers him.
Staring intensely, the creature recalls their time as roommates and asks the man for his experimental number.
The black-haired man is visibly tense as he realizes the creature he knew is still alive.
A quiet whisper sounds as the scout warns his leader that the man is suspicious and suggests they retreat for now.
The team leader agrees to fall back and regroup while the black-haired man remains focused on the bird-faced man.
A soft huff sounds as the avian humanoid suggests cleaning up the area, finally recognizing his old acquaintance.
A hazy memory reveals two arms reaching out, marked with the numbers 17 and 33. The vision shows two children on medical tables in a blood-spattered laboratory, bonded by a scent only they know.
Back in the present, the black-haired man offers a knowing smile and greets the creature as number 17.
A rushing wind sounds as flashlights cut through the dark woods, searching for two children fleeing through the night.
A soft sob sounds as a young girl shivers in her brother's arms, suffering from the freezing side effects of her transformation.
The young bird boy carries his sister through the thicket, wondering if leaving her behind would have been a better decision for survival.
A soft sniffle sounds as the girl finds comfort in her brother's warm wings while he urges her to stay conscious as they run.
A heavy breath sounds as the boy promises his sister they will be safe once they get out of the forest.
A sharp gasp sounds as the boy suddenly stops, spotting someone else waiting for them in the darkness.
A bright glow sounds as a young boy with a flashlight stands before them, questioning their presence in the woods.
The young boy reveals he came to warn them of their scheduled disposal, though the bird boy mocks his ill-timed helpfulness.
The young scout warns that escape is futile because a lethal detonation spell will trigger if they don't return within 3 days.
A low growl sounds as the bird boy argues that death is better than the agony of living as an experimental subject.
A painful cry sounds as the two children huddle together on the floor, desperate to find a way to escape their fate.
A soft sob sounds as the young girl begs her brother for just one day of living a normal life together.
A rushing wind sounds as the boy's resolve hardens and he vows to live freely even if it only lasts for a single day. A bright flare sounds as the young bird boy unleashes a burst of green energy, ready to fight anyone who tries to take their freedom. Standing before a swirling portal, the black-haired boy remains silent.
A sharp gasp sounds as the blue-feathered creature questions how the boy obtained a gatestone.
He explains the grim fate of crossing into the demon realm where human cells are poisoned. The boy notes that even becoming a monster would offer a life of freedom. Looking up intently, the avian humanoid asks if a human can survive there. A diagram reveals that building mana is necessary to protect the body and mind. Flashlights cut through the woods as trackers discover the gate has successfully opened. Retreating into the shadows, the two roommates realize they never even learned each other's names. A soft rustle sounds as the black-haired man reflects on his forgotten identity. Back in the present, the black-haired man introduces himself as Chan Da-woon to his dazed enemies. A blank stare follows as the bearded leader realizes he has no memory of why he is there. Da-woon tells the confused trackers to enter the portal and forget everything that happened. He reveals that his body contains oblivion herb cells capable of erasing several hours of memory. The brown-feathered avian humanoid, number 17, is surprised that Da-woon remembers his name, Yubum. The young girl questions their friendship while Da-woon identifies Yubum as being from the Sparrow tribe.
A quick tap sounds as the girl bows and apologizes for misjudging the kind birdman.
The group arrives at Yubum's massive woven nest-like home situated right on the beach. Resting on a mat, Da-woon offers praise for the impressive construction of the seaside shelter.
A delicious aroma rises from grilled clams seasoned with special demon realm plants like butternut.
A soft chirrup sounds as the white owl creature is overwhelmed by the seafood's freshness.
Da-woon and the girl joyfully feast on the chewy clams seasoned with red moss.
A sharp sting sounds as Yubum smiles at his guests before suffering a sudden internal pain. A low groan sounds as Da-woon watches Yubum tremble, noticing the creature's hidden physical struggle.
The girl begs for more clams while the birdman admits he has run of ingredients.
Her eyes sparkle with determination as she offers to go catch more despite the coastal dangers.
A quick dash sounds as the girl and her small animal companions race toward the shoreline. Relaxing on the sand, Yubum asks Da-woon if he intends to seek revenge on the laboratory. A loud splash sounds as the young girl emerges from the waves holding a giant clam. Yubum warns that they still carry detonation spells that would trigger if they return to Earth. Da-woon questions why Yubum chooses to remain in his avian form instead of turning human.
The birdman explains that he keeps his feathers so his sister, Jia, won't feel like an outcast.
A soft sigh sounds as Da-woon reveals he knows Yubum only has a month left to live.
Yubum describes his struggle to balance mana and demonic energy to prolong his survival.
A vision shows Jia sitting peacefully in the sun wearing a protective skull mask. A sharp wince sounds as Yubum recalls damaging his own mana hole during a desperate struggle. Da-woon learns that Jia has placed herself in a coma to slow her energies rampaging. A bright thought occurs as Da-woon mentions that Mandragora roots can heal a damaged mana hole.
Inside the dark nest, Jia remains asleep while surrounded by poisonous, sleep-inducing fruit.
A pained cry sounds as a vision shows Jia suffering during her forced transformation. A sudden jolt sounds as Yubum stands up in shock, desperate to know how they can live. Da-woon explains his background in pharmaceutics and the specific recipe needed for a cure. An illustration details the Mandragora, a plant-type monster known for its powerful magical scream. Hidden roots are shown absorbing energy from the earth, acting as a potent source of life force.
Da-woon offers a confident smile, glad he raised Mandragoras and promising to help his old friend.
He notes that to create the purified water, he must first locate a skilled alchemist. A joyful splash sounds as the girl plays in the waves while Yubum expresses his deep gratitude. A soft rustle sounds as the birdman provides Da-woon with essential supplies used by expert hunters. Holding a gray stone, Da-woon prepares to depart for the human world to find assistance. A heavy thud sounds as Da-woon walks through the city streets with his new guide, Bong-soo. The guide suggests visiting the Alchemy Association branch that recently opened in the slums. Da-woon asks why Bong-soo is wearing sandbags on his limbs, prompting the boy to explain he is building stamina. Looking determined, the boy tells his big brother Da-woon that he wants to become strong like him.
Bong-soo gives a thumbs up, vowing to eat a lot and exercise hard to reach his goal.
The pair arrives at the Alchemy Association branch in the slums, which Bong-soo describes as having a skilled and kind manager.
Bong-soo points toward the building as a man nearby sweats profusely while discussing long overdue interest payments on the phone.
Da-woon notes the man likely received a call from a loan shark, while Bong-soo explains that taking loans is common in the neighborhood.
Bong-soo reveals that the man, Manager Kim, was recently demoted and transferred after 20 years at the Gold City branch.
A flashback shows Manager Kim standing before a supervisor's desk having reported him for embezzling slum support funds.
The corrupt director Ann, known for stealing achievements, looms over a memory of Manager Kim being kicked out for his honesty.
Manager Kim walks dejectedly down the street, huffing with exhaustion from his difficult life.
Bong-soo greets the man, who asks what brings them there, while Da-woon introduces himself as a traveler seeking an alchemist.
Manager Kim kindly pats Bong-soo on the head, praising the boy's earnest way of living.
Inside the office, an assistant named Park complains about the poor performance and low-grade clientele they attract.
Manager Kim enters with his guests and asks Assistant Park to prepare something for them to drink.
Da-woon skips the formalities and asks if Manager Kim is an A-grade alchemist capable of making purified water using mandragora.
Surprised that Da-woon knows his rank, Manager Kim admits he could make it but lacks the precious materials in such a poor area.
A heavy thud sounds as Da-woon reveals a bundle of Andragora fine roots that pulse with dense magical energy.
Manager Kim and Assistant Park stare in disbelief at the roots, noting their incredible, freshly harvested condition.
Da-woon offers to pay the manufacturing fee with Coastal Specialties and asks for an appraisal of the items in his bag.
The alchemists are stunned as Da-woon pulls out rare treasures, including S-grade black pearls from the coast. Manager Kim gleefully hugs the pearls, noting that even the association's headquarters has never seen anything like them.
A sudden splash sounds as a giant clam from the demon realm squirts water at Assistant Park, proving it is still alive.
The pair is overwhelmed to find red moss, an ultra-rare core ingredient for high-grade potions that was only recently discovered.
Da-woon asks if these treasures cover the manufacturing fee, and Manager Kim quickly agrees that it is more than enough.
Manager Kim and Assistant Park nod in agreement that such expensive items require the use of proper appraisal devices. Manager Kim produces a small jar containing a mandragora he kept for research, though he believes it has passed away.
Da-woon inspects the jar closely and informs the surprised alchemist that the creature inside is still alive.
A sharp gasp sounds as Manager Kim learns the mandragora is merely in a comatose state due to depleted magical energy.
As the manager tries to explain his care for the creature, the door suddenly swings open to reveal 3 silhouettes.
A low laugh sounds as Director Ann appears with 2 subordinates, mockingly asking Manager Kim how he has been.
Director Ann insults the state of the office while a trembling Manager Kim asks what brings the director to the slums.
Director Ann reveals he received a tip about amazing items arriving in the neighborhood, eyeing the treasures on the table.
A sharp sting sounds as Manager Kim realizes Assistant Park likely betrayed him and contacted the director.
Director Ann boasts about his superior subordinates, identifying them as twin teleportation awakeners.
Introducing himself as Director An Gi-jung, he invites Da-woon to Gold City and promises to treat him properly.
Calling the slums a backwater, the director offers Da-woon an exclusive contract with signing bonuses and tax perks.
Da-woon mocks the director's appearance before asking about his relationship to a man named An Bok-duk.
A hazy memory shows a bloodied young Da-woon kneeling on the floor while a voice mocks his terrible genes.
An Bok-duk stands over the children with a whip, mocking them as chimeras who should search for parents in the demon realm. The memory shows An Bok-duk threatening to push the children through a gate, which shifts to the present as Da-woon looms over the director.
A low groan sounds as the director cowers on the floor, surrounded by blue energy, as Da-woon asks if he is like his grandfather.
Da-woon accuses the man of being a greedy individual who uses power to crush others and take what he wants.
Glaring with intense hatred, Da-woon demands to know if the TDA Research Institute is still in operation.
Terrified and confused, the director stammers that he has no idea what Da-woon is talking about.
The director desperately claims he has never heard of a place called TDA.
Da-woon clarifies his question by asking about the illegal Chimera Research Institute, where An Bok-duk was a senior researcher.
Trembling with fear, the director begs Da-woon not to insult the deceased, claiming his grandfather was a devoted academic.
A vision shows An Bok-duk receiving a Peace Prize for donating his fortune to victims after his retirement from research.
Da-woon offers a cold smile, noting that the man likely only repented in public after killing many children behind the scenes. Standing tall over his frightened enemy, Da-woon wonders if An Bok-duk's early death was caused by falling out of a window.
Shocked, Director An stammers that the incident isn't public and wonders how Da-woon knows about it.
Flashback. An Bok-duk falls through glass as Da-woon reveals he pushed the man because he turned kidnapped kids into chimeras. Flashback. A young Da-woon reaches out, explaining he pushed the man for threatening to force children through gates. Present day. Da-woon offers a chance, telling the director to investigate An Bok-duk and the TDA Research Institute upon his return. Da-woon vows to find the director when the time of right. Flashback. A needle enters a child's arm marked with 17, detailing Da-woon's first chimera experiment at age 9. Flashback. A chimeric figure with black hair and white fur sits chained to a chair in a dark, grimy cell.
Flashback. A massive clawed hand grips a tangled mass, reflecting a world where civilization has vanished.
Flashback, winged monsters battle across a red sky illuminated by streaks of energy.
A sudden double knock sounds as Dawon realizes the research institute has likely changed names over the years.
Manager Kim rushes back into the room with bottles, apologizing for keeping them waiting. The manager holds 2 star-capped bottles filled with a glowing green liquid.
A quick double tap sounds as Manager Kim calculates the remaining costs while Dawon notes the man's skill and good character.
Dawon provides the raw materials, telling the alchemist he only needs to handle the combinations well.
Manager Kim is stunned by the offer of rare items and an exclusive contract, while Dawon asks if selling those items to buy a building isn't a good deal.
A soft double sob sounds as a tearful Manager Kim reveals he grew up in these very slums.
Flashback, a man kicks a table over in front of a distressed couple as Kim recalls his parents taking out loans.
Flashback, a young Kim studies by candlelight, determined to pay back the debts despite his lifelong struggle.
Bowing deeply, Kim listens as Dawon tells him not to worry and asks to be taken care of from now on.
A soft sniff sounds as Manager Kim offers profuse thanks while Dawon plans his future request for the alchemist.
A vision shows a berserk Jia wearing a skull mask as Yubam regrets not anticipating her loss of control.
A low groan sounds as Yubam begs Jia to come to her senses, but the chimeric girl only growls in response.
A sudden loud bam sounds as the feral Jia strikes Yubam with a powerful blow.
A heavy boom sounds as Jia roars and slams Yubam into the ground with a devastating force.
Lying defeated on the rocks, a bleeding Yubam laments that he has arrived too late.
Looking worried, the young girl asks if the Birdman is hurt while he thinks of Dawon's previous help.
Standing back up despite his injuries, Yubam vows to keep his promise to Dawon.
A sharp crack sounds as Yubam takes another hit, remembering how Dawon saved them once before.
A powerful shockwave ripples across the area from the intense battle.
Charging forward, Yubam says a silent goodbye to Jia as he prepares for a final confrontation.
A soft swish sounds as Yubam tells Jia to be happy in what he thinks are her final moments.
A sudden loud blast sounds as a massive glowing pink jellyfish-like creature bursts onto the scene.
Sitting atop the giant slime, Dawon wonders if Jia fainted as the girl and Yubam stare in shock.
Squishing the feral Jia under the pink slime, Dawon notes she is squishy while the Birdman protests that she is a sister. A soft sigh sounds as Yubam returns to his human bird form and asks if Dawon obtained the medicine.
A sharp jingle sounds as Dawon presents the star-capped potions, telling Yubam to feed them to Jia quickly.
Resting on a mat, Jia and the girl sleep soundly alongside their small bird companion near the empty potion vials.
A soft snore sounds as Jia sleeps peacefully with a bit of drool on her whip.
Waking up, the masked Jia rubs her head and wonders if her ordeal was just a dream.
Night has fallen as Dawon and Yubam sit by a campfire on the beach, roasting fish on sticks.
A sudden whoosh sounds as a startled Jia jumps up, demanding to know who the strangers are.
Rubbing her eyes, the young girl asks if her sparrow aunt is awake, confusing the masked Jia.
Dawon welcomes Jia back and suggests she check her mana haul while the girl introduces herself as Kim Nari.
Looking bewildered, Jia questions the mention of her mana haul.
A soft gasp sounds as Jia touches her face, realizing her mana and appearance have returned to normal.
Looking around, Jia asks her brother about the newcomers, while Yubam asks if she recognizes Dawon.
Staring at Dawon while he eats, Jia recognizes him as number 17 from the laboratory experiments.
Jia excitedly asks if it is really number 17, and Yubam confirms Dawon's identity.
Dawon indifferently asks for more red moss, while the Birdman says they are out, prompting Jia to note Dawon's lack of empathy. Standing under the starry night sky, a happy Jia offers her sincere thanks.
A mysterious skull mask is prepared.
The young girl notices something sparkling in the sea and asks what it is. Narrative, a shimmering light catches her attention. The masked girl identifies the lights as sea fairies, while the young girl repeats the name in curiosity. Narrative, a conversation begins on the dark beach.
The masked girl explains that the sea fairies are actually deep-sea monsters that come to the surface at night to play. Narrative, the young girl watches the glowing creatures in awe.
The masked girl reveals that following the sea fairies leads to yellow glowing quartz, causing a light bulb to appear over Dawon's head. Narrative, a valuable discovery is shared under the stars. Dawon smiles and remarks that he will be swimming in the sea after a long time. Narrative, the man prepares for an underwater expedition. Looking intense in his office, the gray-haired director asks about the whereabouts of the mechanical creature. Narrative, a cold inquiry begins in a modern facility.
The gray-haired man questions if the creature is in the coastal area while his subordinates listen in a large boardroom. Narrative, the search for the target narrows to the shoreline.
The director notes that A-rank hunters recently returned from the coast with memory loss, though the creature's location was saved on their tracking devices. Narrative, the dangers of the mission are discussed. A phone vibrates on the desk with a low hum as it displays a call from Director Ann. Narrative, an important call interrupts the meeting.
Director Ann, dressed in a pinstripe suit, answers the phone and notes it has been a while since they spoke. Narrative, a high-ranking figure initiates a secretive conversation.
On the other end of the call, the gray-haired man claims he has never heard of an illegal lab called TDA. Narrative, the director denies any knowledge of the clandestine facility.
Looking panicked, the gray-haired man insists that Hambit is not that kind of research institute. Narrative, the director defensively protects the reputation of his lab.
The gray-haired man states that Professor An Bok-duk always instructed him to be an honest researcher. Narrative, a legacy of integrity is cited as a defense.
A sinister smile crosses the man's face as he identifies himself as Han Myung-do and claims he never forgot his teacher's lessons before a quick disconnect tone sounds. Narrative, a dark intent is revealed through a forced politeness.
A sharp tap sounds as Han Myung-do wonders why the name of an unrecorded illegal lab would come from his teacher's grandson. Narrative, suspicion grows following the mysterious phone call. A subordinate rushes in to inform Director Han that the combination of liquid metal and mandragora has been successful. Narrative, a breakthrough in the laboratory is reported. A metallic click sounds as a glass tube is opened to reveal a small, pale creature breathing inside. Narrative, a bizarre experiment is unveiled within the lab. Peering through his glasses, Han Myung-do notes that mandragoras have an exceptionally strong sense of kinship and outstanding sensory abilities. Narrative, the scientist analyzes the properties of his creation. The director explains that mixing the creature with liquid metal creates an extremely strong property of coalescing. Narrative, the alchemical details of the experiment are discussed. Standing with his arm outstretched, Han Myung-do demands to triple the bounty immediately and put out a notice for elite A-class hunters. Narrative, a massive manhunt is authorized by the director.
Nari makes a bold, happy howl.
A soft splash sounds as Yubum stands guard on the beach during a bright day. Narrative, the Birdman watches over the shoreline.
Yubum thinks to himself that the man is truly a weirdo for seeking quartz. Narrative, observations are made about Dawoon's unusual goals.
A soft crackle sounds as Dawoon and Yubum sit by a campfire, and the man invites the Birdman to visit his house. Narrative, an invitation is shared during a quiet night.
Dawoon mentions he has a good cook despite the man being bald, leading a sweating Yubum to ask if he lives in the demon realm. Narrative, the Birdman is shocked by the casual mention of the abyss.
Dawoon sits by the fire and admits that the demon realm is actually quite nice once one gets used to it. Narrative, the man reflects on his life in a dangerous land. A sudden silence falls as Dawoon asks the Birdman if he wants to go back to the human world. Narrative, a heavy question hangs in the air between them. A memory shows two children huddling together in a grimy alleyway as Yubum admits he has no good memories of the place. Narrative, the grim reality of their past is recalled. Dawoon informs the surprised Yubum that he might be able to remove the spell left on his body. Narrative, a life-changing possibility is offered to the Birdman.
A memory shows Dawoon standing with the short alchemist, Manager Kim, whom he describes as very skilled. Narrative, the man recalls his reliable contact in the slums.
Dawoon tells the Birdman to let him know if he is interested, noting there is a difference between choosing not to go and being unable to. Narrative, the value of true freedom is explained. Yubum begins to cry as he realizes they have never done anything for the man who is helping them. Narrative, tears of gratitude fall for the unexpected kindness. A warm glow radiates from the campfire as the importance of doing more than just surviving is mentioned. Narrative, a new perspective on life is shared by the flames.
Standing on the beach in the present, Yubum reflects that helping the man might lead him to find the answers he seeks. Narrative, the Birdman finds purpose in his current journey.
A sudden, loud splash sounds as water erupts from the sea. Narrative, a powerful surge breaks the calm of the morning. A sharp whistle sounds as Jia dives through the air, shouting for her big brother to catch something. Narrative, the masked girl coordinates a massive haul.
A quick tap sounds as Yubum catches a rope and wonders what he has been given. Narrative, the Birdman is pulled into the action.
Jia shouts for Yubum to pull as the Birdman grunts that the object is incredibly heavy. Narrative, a coordinated effort is required to drag the treasure ashore. A heavy dragging line in the sand.
A giant net filled with glowing yellow quartz is revealed, causing a shocked Yubium to shout the item's name. Narrative, a massive fortune is successfully harvested from the ocean.
Looking at the shimmering treasure, Yubum asks if they actually managed to mine all of it. Narrative, the scale of the haul leaves the Birdman in disbelief. A sudden splash sounds as Dawoon and Nari emerge from the water together. Narrative, the divers return from their mission in the deep.
Dawoon remarks that the swim was fun while Nari excitedly agrees as the scene shifts to show Jia swimming underwater earlier. Narrative, the group celebrates a successful day of work and play.
Underwater, the young girl reacts with shock as a glowing seahorse sea fairy rests on her head. Narrative, a magical encounter occurs beneath the waves. The young girl swims through a forest of glowing crystals, noting that the sea fairy's house looked like a yellow palace. Narrative, a majestic kingdom of light is discovered in the depths.
Standing on the beach, the group looks at the massive net of quartz as Gia asks how they will move all of it to the forest zone. Narrative, logistics become the next challenge for the group.
Dawoon looks thoughtful and admits that moving the treasure is something he needs to start thinking about. Narrative, the leader ponders their next strategic move.
A giant blue bird with a glowing chest flies overhead, catching Dawoon's attention. Narrative, a majestic creature appears in the sky above.
Dawoon identifies the creature as a parrot-billed bird and wonders why a creature that usually lives in flocks is all alone. Narrative, and a solitary bird approaches the group.
A sudden sharp whoosh sounds as a vibrant blue parrot-billed bird glides overhead, prompting Nari to remark on its beauty while the birdman warns that it is far more dangerous than it looks.
A terrifying memory reveals the massive 4-meter-long birds possess vicious tempers, causing elite hunters to flee in fear of their relentless attacks.
A soft rustle sounds as the black-haired man watches the bird, smiling at the thought that it will make a perfect substitute for a cargo truck.
A low hum sounds as the bald man meditates in a peaceful field, noting with satisfaction that his internal mana capacity has significantly expanded. Overcome with joy, the bald man laughs while imagining his dream of becoming an A-class hunter finally coming within reach.
A sharp metallic clatter sounds as a strange, slug-like creature drops onto the grass, startling the bald man as he wonders when his brother will return.
The bald man shouts in terror as the metallic creature stands upright, its face contorted in a grumpy expression.
A quick ping sounds as the metallic creature is held by a thin wire, its small face radiating intense anger.
3 masked men in black arrive and mock the creature, threatening to melt it down if it does not cooperate with their demands.
The masked thugs recognize the bald man as Nam Ki-sok, laughing at his appearance and taunting him about his identity. Beads of sweat roll down Nam Ki-sok's face as he identifies the men, his heart racing with a sudden sense of dread.
A grim memory flashes back to Nam Ki-sok being bullied and ridiculed by these same A-class thugs after failing his qualifying exams multiple times.
A sudden rustle sounds as the Mandragora stand defensively in front of Nam Ki-sok, prompting a look of intense shock from the bald man. The thugs whisper greedily about the immense fortune they could make by capturing and selling 3 rare wild Mandragoras. One of the masked men crouches down and speaks in a patronizingly gentle voice, trying to lure the Mandragoras into his grasp.
Gritting his teeth in a surge of protective instinct, Nam Ki-sok resolves to defend the creatures his brother cherishes at any cost.
A sharp snap sounds as the lead Mandragora stamps its foot and glares at the intruder with a look of pure defiance.
A deafening boom sounds as a massive explosion of force sends the 3 masked thugs flying backward through the air.
Amidst the billowing dust, the skull-masked woman and the birdman appear, asking if they have found the correct location in the forest zone. Panting heavily with exhaustion, the blue parrot-billed bird drips with sweat after its strenuous flight across the landscape. A loud whistle sounds as they soar through the air, with Nari complaining about the bird's slow speed, while the black-haired man feels guilty for taming it too harshly. Trembling with absolute terror, Nam Ki-sok screams in confusion at the sudden appearance of the powerful strangers. Nam Ki-sok identifies the skull-masked woman and the birdman as disaster-class monsters rumored to live in the coastal zone, wondering why they have appeared here. While Nari excitedly suggests heading to the coast, Nam Ki-sok is paralyzed by fear as he reflects on his brother's safety. A heavy thud sounds as the skull-masked woman looms over Nam Ki-sok, questioning if he is indeed the cook for Chan Da-woon while the thugs are tossed aside. Nam Ki-sok falls back in terror, his mind reeling from the shocking realization that the supposed monster can speak human language. Looking startled and confused, Nam Ki-sok pauses to consider the woman's question and her apparent connection to his brother.
The birdman clarifies that Da-woon is their friend, a statement that leaves the trembling Nam Ki-sok questioning the incredible life his brother has led.
The birdman gazes suspiciously at the defeated thugs while Nam Ki-sok realizes this could be a perfect opportunity for him to retaliate. A sinister smirk crosses Nam Ki-sok's face as he prepares to shift the blame onto the hunters. Nam Ki-sok shouts with dramatic fury, accusing the terrified thugs of being thieves who were trying to steal his brother's precious Mandragoras.
A powerful gust of wind sounds as the scene transitions to a wide aerial view of the peaceful forest clearing.
A thunderous crash sounds as a massive impact shakes the ground in the middle of the camp. A soft patter sounds as the black-haired man and Nari land in the clearing, with the young girl shouting her joy at finally being back home. The giant blue bird collapses in total exhaustion while the black-haired man wonders if the quartz haul was simply too heavy for it. The black-haired man gently pets the weary bird and tells it to rest as the skull-masked woman expresses her amazement at his taming skills.
A soft rattling sound follows as 2 small, white fluffy creatures tumble off the bird's back and roll onto the grass.
One of the small creatures groans in misery, suffering from a severe case of motion sickness after the high-altitude journey. A sudden thud sounds as the 3 masked thugs are revealed tied securely to a large tree with thick vines, gagged and utterly defeated.
Looking puzzled at the sight of the bound hunters, the black-haired man asks what is happening, while the Birdman notes the suspicious attempted theft.
A soft rustle sounds as the Birdman and the skull-masked woman prepare to explain the full story of the intruder's arrival.
The skull-masked woman invites Nari to show them her home, mentioning she heard the valley is exceptionally beautiful.
A soft patter sounds as Nari leads the woman away, excitedly promising to teach her how to catch fish in the nearby waterfall.
A chilling smile crosses the face of a shadowy scientist with glowing glasses, reflecting a dark and calculated intent.
A screen displays a radar tracking Nari's location as a man with long black hair is shown walking through a raging inferno, revealing the reach of a special tracking device.
The black-haired man questions how the enemies found them despite their location in the coastal zone, prompting an explanation from the Birdman.
A soft rustle sounds as a hand presents the metallic slug-like creature, identifying it as the likely source of their discovery.
The black-haired man realizes that the creature was created by combining mandragoras with liquid metal to create a persistent tracking device.
A soft whimper sounds as the metallic creature looks up with tearful eyes, while the Birdman warns that the enemies will not easily give up on capturing Nari.
Looking annoyed, the black-haired man decides he must develop a countermeasure as the mandragoras behind him begin to glow and murmur with strange energy.
The mandragoras display various expressive emotions.
A quick rustle sounds as Dawoon hands over the metallic creature, prompting the mandragora to shout with intense emotion.
Looking thoughtful, the black-haired man wonders how the creature knew the object was in his pocket.
The Birdman asks where the black-haired man found the scrawny-looking creature, while Dawoon explains it was being raised by an alchemist and he agreed to look after it. In a memory, the alchemist asks if Dawoon wants him to take the creature, and the black-haired man agrees it would be better for it.
A loud sob sounds as the alchemist tearfully begs Dawoon to take good care of the creature, and the black-haired man promises that he will.
The mandragoras diligently dig into the ground.
Watching the creatures interact, the Birdman remarks on their amazing love for their own kind, while Dawoon notes they will adopt quickly without territorial disputes before asking for Nam Kisak.
A sudden loud shout for Big Bro startles Dawoon.
Flying through the air, the skull-masked woman carries Nari while holding Nam Kisak by the back of his shirt as the bald man shouts that he has returned.
A heavy thud sounds as the bald man lunges for a hug while crying that he was worried, but Dawoon holds him back and questions his ragged appearance.
The skull-masked woman explains she found the bald man being nibbled on by fish, while Nam Kisak sheepishly explains he was trying to treat them to something, and Nari odds that Auntie Sparrow saved her in style.
The bald man promises to make something delicious, but stops in surprise as he notices the giant blue bird resting on the grass.
A loud scream sounds as the bald man reacts in terror, questioning why a cockatoo parrot is present in the clearing.
Looking over the camp, Dawoon says he will explain everything later and suggests they eat first, which the bald man readily accepts.
Nari crouches down to watch the metallic creature.
A soft ping sounds as Nari touches the creature, causing blue ripples of energy to expand from the point of contact.
A bright flash sounds as the bald man presents a steaming dish, announcing it is finally ready, while the Birdman and skull-masked woman react with absolute shock.
A steaming bowl of curry and ice.
A soft sniffle sounds as the bald man feels proud of his work, noting that even though it is instant curry and store-bought kimchi, he did his best.
He generously chopped up kimchi, pork, and various vegetables for the meal.
The bald man focuses on stirring the pot.
A soft gulp sounds as the group gathers at the table, with the Birdman noting the good smell while Nari asks if they should eat and the bald man hopes they enjoy it. The skull-masked woman takes a bite.
A sudden sizzle sounds as the Birdman and woman are overwhelmed by the flavor, with the Birdman calling it a legendary meeting of East and West and questioning if India is considered the West.
Dawoon notices Nari is manhiing.
A soft rustle sounds as Dawoon asks Kim Nari why she isn't eating, and the girl turns away while admitting she doesn't have an appetite.
Walking away, Nari says she is going inside to sleep, while Dawoon observes that the liquid metal chimera must be bothering her and wonders if he should give her work to distract her.
A satisfied sigh sounds as the Birdman praises the cook for a meal that hits different, while the skull-masked woman laughs that she feels more like a pig than a bird.
A quick rustle sounds as Dawoon stands to suggest building a fence for digestion, while the skull-masked woman tells them to leave the task of cutting the quartz to her and the Birdman.
Dawoon reacts with shock and date.
Looking at a swirling blue gate, Nari thinks that if she stays, Dawoon will be in danger too.
A soft patter sounds as Nari walks toward the gate, resolving that she and the creature will return to where they belong.
A sharp gasp sounds as Dawoon rushes toward the glowing light with a look of desperation.
A soft sniffle sounds as Nari cries while holding the creature, whispering a final farewell to her uncle.
Standing before the portal, Nari thinks that staying would put her uncle in danger.
A soft patter sounds as Nari steps closer to the gate, intending to return to where she was. A sudden shout sounds as Dawoon calls out Kim Nari's name, while the girl cries and tells her uncle to be well.
A heavy thud sounds as Dawoon grabs Nari by the arm just as she reaches the gate, asking her where she thinks she is going. A soft rustle sounds as the skull-masked woman in the Birdman peer around the corner of the log cabin with looks of concern.
A soft sob sounds as Dawoon pulls Nari into a firm hug, telling her that he can't take his eyes off her anymore.
A steaming bowl of hot ramen.
A soft slurp sounds as Nari happily eats a large forkful of noodles.
A quick rustle sounds as Nari tells her uncle the ramen is even tastier than last time, and Dawoon remarks that ramen is the best choice for a late-night snack.
The skull-masked woman scolds Nari for trying to run away from home at such a young age, warning her that her big sister will scold her next time as the girl apologizes.
A quick top sounds as Nari sticks out her tongue and cries that the food is spicy, prompting Dawoon to hand her a pack of drinks.
The bald man explains that his mother says these drinks are the best for spicy food, while the Birdman recalls receiving them at the research lab as more are offered to the group. A quick tap sounds as the bald man says he will clean up and do the task he was given, while the Birdman suggests they get back to cutting quartz and Dawoon agrees.
Sitting alone at the table, Nari looks down and tells her uncle that she is sorry for making him worry.
Dawoon tells the girl she did nothing wrong and that the ones at fault are the bastards who tried to use her.
Looking thoughtful, the black-haired man asks Kim Nari to tell him about her friends at the Coconut Tribe, causing the girl to pause in surprise.
A soft rustle sounds as Dawoon explains that her friends won't get hurt when he cleans the lab, while silently thinking he shouldn't have said that out loud.
A soft potter sounds as Nari flails her arms excitedly while Dawoon realizes he doesn't need to ask for the lab's location since Nam Ki-sak will know it.
A sinister smirk crosses the face of the bald man.
A heavy thud sounds as Nam Ki-suk shoves his hand into the face of a tied-up thug, noting his brother suppressed their mana for a while.
A soft groan sounds as Nam Ki-sak prepares to use the forced opening to feed the thugs something special. Coughing violently, the blonde thug begs Nam Ki-suk for a deal, offering to pay whatever he asks and save up enough money for a house in Gold City. A soft rustle sounds as Nam Ki-suk rejects the offer, stating that a deal requires both parties to be on the same level. Flashing a premium black card, the bald man mocks the thugs for thinking he would care about petty cash, causing the intruders to gasp in shock at his wealth.
Wide-eyed with disbelief, the thug asks how he obtained such a rare card, but Nam Ki-suk dismisses the question as unimportant.
Laughing triumphantly, Nam Ki-suk celebrates getting his revenge for what happened during the advancement exam while waving 2 black cards in the air.
A dark aura rises as Nam Ki-suk reminds the terrified thugs that they called him a dumbass, but in reality, they are the famous scumbags of the field. He questions whether failing an exam is a bigger crime than beating up weak people and stealing their money just because they have a little power.
A soft glow emanates from Nam Ki-suk's hand as he presents balls made from oblivion herb pollen, noting he isn't sure how strong the memory wiping effect will be. Looking through a small opening at the trembling thugs, the bald man decides to reset their filthy personalities by forcing them to eat the herbs.
A loud scream sounds as the thug shouts no while Nam Ki-suk forces the memory wiping ball into his open mouth.
The next day, a water droplet falls from a leaf as Nari runs through the clearing, prompting the skull-masked woman to remark that raising a child is exhausting.
The Birdman asks if Dawoon is going to clean up the lab, and the black-haired man confirms he is taking Nam Ki-suk and Gu with him.
A soft thud sounds as the skull-masked woman steps forward, announcing that preparations for the journey are complete. Looking incredibly joyful, the bald man carries a large backpack, while the black-haired man notes that their chef seems to be in a great mood.
A soft ping sounds as Nam Ki-suk is overcome with excitement at the thought of meeting an A-class alchemist to solve his problems.
The skull-masked woman asks if they are really going as they are and suggests they should at least wear disguises.
Removing her mask to reveal short brown hair with yellow highlights, the woman warns that nothing good comes from being recognized. Holding the skull mask, Nam Ki-suk wonders if it will fit him, while the woman notes that despite his small face, his head is surprisingly big. A sudden, angry shout sounds as the bald man reacts to the comment about his head size, demanding the woman repeat herself.
A soft thumping sound follows as Nam Ki-suk suddenly blushes and clutches his chest while flowers bloom around him in a romantic haze.
The unmasked woman laughs brightly in the warm sunlight.
In reality, a quick thud sounds as the woman repeatedly punches the Birdman in the head while shouting that she will kill him for his laughter.
A heavy thud sounds as Nam Ki-suk drops to one knee and begs the woman for forgiveness, explaining he is the type to act on impulse.
Surrounded by sparkling roses, a handsome version of Nam Ki-suk dramatically asks the woman what her ideal type is.
A sudden spray sounds as Dawoon and the Birdman spit out their drinks in absolute shock at the bald man's sudden confession.
Looking down at the kneeling man, the woman is puzzled and asks what he means by her ideal type. Wearing 3D glasses and eating popcorn, the Birdman and Dawoon enjoy the live drama, with the black-haired man noting the woman looks surprisingly serious about her answer.
The woman hums thoughtfully as she begins to consider her preferences.
A soft rustle sounds as she begins her list, stating that her ideal type must first be flashy.
She adds that a good dancer would be nice while the image of a colorful peacock appears, leaving a stone-faced Nam Ki-suk to question her requirements.
A soft rustle sounds as the woman adds that more feathers are better, and Nam Ki-suk turns to stone as he screams the word fluffy in despair.
A sudden roar of flame sounds as Nam Ki-sok explodes with energy, shouting that they must go meet the alchemist immediately, while Dawoon mentions a stop along the way.
A loud hum sounds as a massive blue vortex appears in the middle of a city street, causing people to wonder why the return gate is so enormous. A soft rustle sounds as the beak of a giant bird begins to emerge from the swirling blue portal.
A sudden boom sounds as the massive bird's head pushes through the gate into the urban environment.
A loud scream sounds as terrified citizens recognize the creature as a poison parrot rock and urge everyone to report it to the association. Looking up in disbelief, a bystander notes that someone appears to be riding the legendary monster bird.
A powerful gust of wind sounds as the giant bird flies over the buildings, with Dawoon noting they have a ride and Nam Ki-sok clinging on while wearing a black mask.
Puzzled by the urban setting, the masked Nam Ki-sok asks where they are going, but Dawoon replies that he is the one who has to provide the answer.
Wearing the skull mask, Dawoon gazes at the blue sky and admires the bird's graceful flight.
A soft rustle sounds as the black-haired man decides that he should name the giant bird Blue.
In a large office, a man informs the director that the hunters sent previously have all returned with their memories completely wiped.
A thunderous slam sounds as the director hits his desk, demanding to know what happened to the tracking chimera that was sent with the hunters.
Looking down with a sinister expression, the white-haired director seethes over the loss of the massive investments they have made until now.
Shadowy figures stand behind a man in a suit.
Distressed, the researcher reaches into his lab coat pocket.
He finds a small yellow orb and a note reading "See you soon."
The director bellows in rage about the prank.
Glass shatters as a massive force crashes through a window.
Smoke and debris fill the laboratory after the impact.
A soft rustle sounds as Dawoon notes the unstable landing in Tail Thunder.
Dawoon stands over the fallen Nam Ki-sok near the giant bluebird.
Dawoon demands to know the lab director's identity.
They fly over Haebong Mountain toward the research institute.
Sweat beads on Nam Ki-sok's mask as he questions the plan.
A news report highlights the lab's success in creating mechanical life.
Nam Ki-sok worries about the legality while scratching his head.
Dawoon remains focused while Nam Ki-sok hopes he has thought this through.
Nam Ki-sok notes the weird tail feathers while Dawoon explains they won't grow.
Dawoon recalls finding the bird being attacked by its own flock.
A soft biap sounds as Dawoon explains he rescued the bird.
A young blue chick peeps among glowing feathers.
A sudden squawk sounds as the small bird is startled.
Other birds brutally attack the small chick's sail.
A soft tapping sounds as Nam Ki-sok pats the breed's flowers.
A soft peep sounds as Dawoon orders Blue to go straight ahead.
Terror strikes Nam Ki-sok as the bird begins to dive.
A loud "wah" sounds as they dive toward the greenery.
Nam Ki-sok's face contorts in absolute terror during the dive.
A sudden boom sounds as they crash into the building. Researchers cough as thick dust fills the records. Through the haze, the researcher wonders what is happening. A loud scream sounds as Blue's massive eye appears. The man falls back, terrified to see a parrot drake.
Glowing spiderwebs suddenly trap the researchers.
A quick tap sounds as a heavy boot steps onto the floor.
Walking through the debris, Dawoon explains they are heading for the top floor.
Bound researchers tremble as Dawoon asks if this is the institute.
A soft hum sounds as Dawoon pauses to sense mana.
The Hunter Association Tower stands high over Goldsay. The chairman warns he will kick the boy out if he fails.
Baekho blows a bubble while claiming he assessed.
Baekho asks for pocket money while his grandfather sighs. Chairman Lee Woon-soo sits in deep thought.
A quick tap sounds as the chairman considers a successor. He explains his history of founding the association. Looking over the city, he laments the greed of modern hunters.
A green-skinned mermaid chimera floats in a research tank.
A terrifying insectoid chimera looms over a small child.
A blood-stained teddy bear lies abandoned on the ground.
A quick tap sounds as the chairman remembers old heroes.
He resolves that the association must remain firm.
Shadowy figures reach for his position to form a cartel.
He reflects on his own lack of power or rank. Kim bursts into the room, alarming the seated chairman with urgent news.
The red-haired Baekho and the gray-haired chairman are stunned to hear a parrot drake has appeared without warning.
Gripping his face in frustration, the chairman realizes that response teams will likely ignore the call for help in the slums.
A thunderous slam sounds as the chairman strikes his desk, ordering his staff to alert the labs before vowing to intervene personally.
Running to keep up, Baekho shouts his intention to accompany his grandfather into the field.
Back in the laboratory, the white-haired director is bound and radiating a dark aura as a hand reaches toward him.
While Dawoon and the masked Nam Ki-sok stand ready, the director recognizes a familiar presence.
A sudden, powerful blast sounds as the room is consumed by a chaotic explosion of energy.
A soft splash sounds as droplets of liquid metal scatter across the floor.
The researchers cry out in terror as the liquid begins to reform into a grotesque new shape. Transformed into a monstrous liquid entity, the director bellows in fury at the destruction of his research facility.
Dawoon watches calmly as the monster vows to eliminate them all for their interference.
Dodging a massive metallic strike, the skull-masked man compares the power to Nari's but notes its biological origin.
A sudden, heavy strike sounds as the man realizes the director performed experiments on his own body. The director boasts of his synthesis achievements while Dawoon's eyes glow with a chilling intensity behind his mask.
A haunting memory reveals a small child strapped to an operating table in a room stained with blood.
In the past, the villainous doctor held a syringe of green fluid and swore to do whatever it took to surpass his rival.
A thunderous crash sounds as the skull-masked man unleashes a devastating downward strike.
Pinning the struggling creature to the ground, Dawoon's gaze burns with righteous anger.
He demands to know if the children from the slums were stolen for these horrific procedures.
A heavy thud sounds as the man slams the director down for his heartless remarks about the victims.
Desperate to survive, the melting director tries to liquefy his form to slip through his captor's grip.
Dawoon silences the creature's excuses, promising to lock him away in a place of eternal reflection.
A sudden roaring burst sounds as an overwhelming surge of mana erupts from the man's hand.
The director's screams of agony are drowned out by the swirling blue energy.
A soft whirring sounds as the monstrous body is compressed and pulled into a singular glowing point.
The skull-masked man kneels silently before a small, perfectly round blue orb on the laboratory floor.
Nam Ki-suk and the Birdman gape in shock at the absolute transformation of their powerful foe. Holding the orb aloft, Dawoon offers the terrified researchers a chance to speak or face a similar fate. Walking through the facility, the man reflects on the betrayal between the master and his thieving disciple.
He wonders why the director's memories lacked any mention of the mysterious organization he was searching for.
A bound researcher reveals that they had already disabled the tracking device on the mechanical girl. A soft thud sounds as Nam Ki-suk prepares to clean up the site with the help of the massive bluebird. Dawoon enters a deep chamber, lamenting the twisted legacy left behind by the illegal experiments. A loud thud sounds as he kicks the doors open to reveal rows of chimeras suspended in glowing green vats. The small bird spirit and the man are halted by a sudden realization of the room's contents. The spirit seethes with rage upon discovering that the children were treated as nothing more than digital records. Standing before the vats, the skull-masked man remains silent in the face of such cruelty.
A soft whirring sounds as a memory shows surgeons arguing over the profitability of a young subject.
The image of a young boy with vacant eyes and a bug on his cheek serves as a grim reminder of the past.
A soft top sounds as the man touches a glass vat, resolving to end the suffering of the creatures inside.
A small fox-like creature peeps out from the shadows, watching the intruders with curiosity.
The little creature sniffles as it detects a familiar and comforting scent.
Dawoon tilts his head in surprise, having never heard that this particular experiment could speak.
A soft whisper sounds as the man and the bird spirit wonder if Nari's scent is still lingering on them.
The man asks the fox-like creature if it knows about the mechanical life form.
A soft rustle sounds as the creature's tail wags excitedly upon hearing that Nari is safe and happy.
Tears of relief fall from the fox's eyes as it expresses its long wait for good news. Dawoon asks if there are others left in the facility, prompting the fox to call for its friends. A small tree creature and a green ant emerge shyly from behind the pillar. A sudden, curious rustle sounds as 7 yellowish slug-like chimeras peek out from behind a wall.
Within the laboratory wreckage, Dawoon asks if these are the only survivors, learning from the bird spirit that the combat models were either sold or destroyed.
Gazing through his skull mask, the man notes with grim satisfaction that all the creatures originate from the demon realm. A soft hum sounds as the gathered chimeras huddle together under the mysterious protective glow of blue mana. Watching from a distance as the Hanbit lab burns, the chairman and his grandson realize that the slums were never the real target of the attack. A sudden loud squawk sounds as the red-haired boy points toward a massive parrot drake soaring through the evening sky. High above the burning facility, Dawoon sits cross-legged on the bird's back as onlookers marvel at the sight of someone riding the beast. With an enthusiastic salute, Nam Ki-suk reports that all the researchers have been successfully evacuated to safety as per their plan. The masked man wonders if they should have used memory-erasing pills on the witnesses, but Dawoon explains that leaving them with their memories was intentional. Looking down at the figure standing below, Dawoon asks his companion to identify the men watching their departure.
Nam Ki-suk identifies the prestigious association president Lee Woon-soo and his grandson, guessing they arrived to investigate the report of the drake.
The name Lee Woon-soo strikes a familiar chord with Dawoon as he pauses for a moment of stylized, quiet reflection.
A sudden spark of recognition lights up the man's eye as he finally remembers exactly who the chairman is. A soft grin spreads across Dawoon's face as he prepares to drop his captive prize toward the people below. A sudden, sharp whistle sounds as Dawoon tosses the blue orb down, much to the absolute panic of his masked companion. A thunderous thud sounds as the chairman catches the glowing sphere with a startled and precise movement. Gazing at the orb with deep gravity, the old man tells his confused grandson that he never expected to see such an artifact again.
A soft hum sounds as the chairman identifies the mana sealing spell, noting that only a superior force could ever hope to break it.
A quick tapping sounds as a hunter reports that there are no casualties, while the chairman wonders who could have done this to director Han Myung-do.
The chairman listens to reports about the director's secret nature as a chimera, his gaze never leaving the glowing blue orb in his hand.
Looking up at the disappearing bird, the chairman's eyes widen in shock as a revolutionary realization begins to take hold.
A moment of stunned silence follows as the old man wonders if a certain child from his past could truly still be alive. Soaring away toward the slums, Dawoon ignores Nam Ki-sak's excitement about finally finding a solution to his personal dilemma.
Despite his wish for a quiet life, Dawoon reflects that being followed by the association will surely prove to be a hassle. A sudden, thunderous crash sounds in the night duty room of the slum branch, jolting the sleeping manager from his bed.
Clad in bear print pajamas, Manager Kim peeks out his door, wondering who would dare visit at such a late hour.
A sudden, cheerful greeting sounds as Nam Ki-sak's upside-down face appears at the window, terrifying the poor manager.
A loud, piercing scream sounds as the man in pajamas is overcome by absolute comedic terror.
Dawoon steps into the room and scolds his clumsy partner while the manager cowers on the floor, yelling about intruders.
A soft sigh sounds as Dawoon tells the man to relax, prompting Manager Kim to recognize him with a look of pure shock.
A soft chuckle sounds as the black-haired man removes his skull mask and offers a friendly smile to the bewildered manager.
A soft rustle sounds as the village group works together to assemble luminous stones into polished quartz pieces on a wooden table. A quick click sounds as a stone is fitted perfectly into its slot, causing the little girl's eyes to sparkle with delight.
The Hawkman beams with pride as his companions admit they never would have thought of such a clever design.
A soft hum sounds as the woman wonders how many pieces they will need for the fence just as she senses a sudden shift in mana.
The group watches in astonishment as a brilliant blue gate suddenly opens on the grassy ground before them.
A loud, chaotic tumble sounds as the rescued chimeras spill out of the portal in a confused, squeaking heap.
The little girl wonders if Dawoon sent the creatures, noting their surprisingly weak and harmless appearance to the woman. A soft rustle sounds as the woman watches the small chimeras scramble around while the little girl goes to inspect them.
The little girl watches the newcomers with wide-eyed curiosity, sensing a strange energy from the group.
A sudden defensive chirp sounds as Sasa the lizard stands tall and protective in front of its new friends.
The village group wonders if the lizard is scared or simply trying to prove that it is the boss of the field.
A soft rustle sounds as the little lizard chimera squares up against the curious, leafy tree man.
The two small creatures exchange a long, uncertain look as the rest of the group watches in suspense.
A soft peep sounds as the tree man chimera looks up with an incredibly adorable and teary-eyed expression.
A sudden, blinding flash sounds as the tree man begins to radiate an overwhelming and ancient golden energy. A thunderous boom sounds as a massive explosion of white light consumes the entire group of small creatures.
When the light fades, 5 powerful and impressive radish-like spirits emerge, stunning the onlookers with their transformation.
Resting in the grass, Blue takes a break while Dawoon and Nam Ki-sak celebrate their return home before a completely dazed Manager Kim. Manager Kim stares at the surreal scene with a look of absolute disbelief, unable to believe his own eyes.
Manager Kim is absolutely shocked that they built a house in the demon realm. Looking around with wide eyes, Manager Kim asks about the strange house layout.
Dawoon gazes toward the forest, wondering if Nari has finally reconciled with her friends.
Dawoon commands Nam Ki-sak and Manager Kim to wait where they are for now.
Dawoon tells his companions the plan worked perfectly and offers to make them something.
The Hawkman explains that the sapling and vegetable chimeras are fighting over territory.
A loud huff sounds as the small radish and tree man engage in a glare. A quick rustle sounds as the red ant chimera prepares to jump into the conflict.
A soft tap sounds as the Skullmask spirit sees the ant's tail light up.
The leafy tree man chimera rushes forward with a look of extreme focus and determination. The onlookers are completely shocked as the tree man performs an incredible shot put throw. A soft whimper sounds as the round radish is startled by the incoming ant. A quick swish sounds as the ant projectile flies right past the radish chimera.
A heavy thud sounds as the ant hits a beetle-like chimera lurking nearby instead.
A soft chirp sounds as the beetle-like chimera is knocked flat onto its back.
The radish chimeras celebrate their victory while the beetle-like creature lies dazed nearby.
A soft rustle sounds as the tree man hugs its dazed and defeated beetle friend.
Dawoon wonders if only Kim Nari and the fox are left to make amends.
A soft sniffle sounds as the blue fox-like creature searches the air near a tree.
The fox identifies the machine creature's familiar scent and calls out to her.
A soft sob sounds as the girl begs for her apology to be accepted. The fox sits patiently by the tree for the crying girl to reveal herself.
A flashback shows researchers discussing how the girl's training scores are the highest.
A soft sniff sounds as the mechanical girl ignores orders while sitting on the floor.
The researchers decide that her unresponsive behavior is simply due to her unique personality.
A sudden thud sounds as other chimera children gang up on the mechanical girl.
The mechanical girl sits in silence while the researcher cruelly calls her a dumb creature.
A sharp click sounds as the head researcher decides to remodel the girl's personality.
The researcher orders giving her weak roommates to manipulate her into following orders. The tree man, fox, and ant chimeras are introduced as the girl's new roommates.
A dark command is given to order the roommates to betray the mechanical girl.
A sudden growl sounds as the fox is forced to attack the mechanical girl.
The narration notes that nothing hurts more than being betrayed by one's own friends.
The girl lies broken as a researcher warns that she will be killed next time.
A soft hum sounds as the researcher tells her to kill the others first.
A sudden roar sounds as the girl activates her thrusters to make a daring escape.
Researchers shout to catch her as she tearfully maintains they are all friends.
She decides to run away to avoid hurting the friends she truly cares for.
A blinding flash sounds as the girl bursts through the doorway into the nay.
Back in the present, the mechanical girl slowly approaches the waiting fox chimera.
A soft gasp sounds as the fox's eyes widen upon seeing its old friend.
A loud sob sounds as the girl hugs the fox and apologizes for biting.
The girl tearfully admits how much she has missed everyone during their long separation.
The two share a heartwarming embrace under the tree as glowing particles fill the air.
Dawoon watches from a distance and decides it's time for the group to head back.
A soft thud sounds as the Hawkman expresses his relief at the fast reconciliation. Manager Kim asks how long they must stay still before Dawon tells them to move.
The Hawkman and Skull-masked Spirit are curious about the man in bear print pajamas.
Dawon introduces Manager Kim as an A-rank alchemist who will help lift their spells.
A soft chuckle sounds as Manager Kim nervously introduces himself to his new companions.
A sudden sharp sound rings out as the girl in the skull mask asks to pluck feathers, leaving Nam Ki-sok completely horrified.
A soft sigh sounds as Bong-soo recounts the chaotic appearance of a blue monster bird while the blonde shopkeeper claims total ignorance.
A quick rattle sounds as the two discuss the arriving winter chill while preparing items in the clothing shop.
A soft hum sounds as the blonde woman offers roasted sweet potatoes and kimchi to a very excited Bong-soo. A soft blow sounds as the brown-haired boy carefully cools his hot snack before taking a bite. A soft hum sounds as the blonde woman encourages the boy to eat as much as he likes. A quick gulp sounds as Bong-soo wonders why his companion isn't eating, and she replies that she ate earlier.
A soft chuckle sounds as Bong-soo dismisses his chills as workout aches, prompting a look of concern from the woman.
A soft hum sounds as the woman wonders if the boy's lingering symptoms are actually a sign of an imminent awakening.
Looking at the boy with a focused gaze, the woman notes that 17 is the perfect age for an awakening to begin.
A soft huff sounds as Bong-soo doubts his potential, though the woman insists that background and height suggest otherwise.
A loud slap sounds as the woman slams a thick stack of cash onto the table, silencing the boy's doubts.
A soft gasp sounds as Bong-soo stares at the money in his hands with a look of pure, trembling shock.
Looking away with a casual pose, the woman tells him to use the money for bus fare to the Silver City Association.
A moment of quiet reflection follows as the camera focuses on a framed photo of the two companions in their prime.
Looking up with a gentle smile, Bong-soo offers his sincere thanks to the woman he considers his mentor.
A loud comedic scream sounds as the blonde woman reacts with fury at being called an old lady.
A soft rustle sounds as the skull-masked girl rests against a wooden wall while the title of the series appears above.
A soft hum sounds as the small chimeras work together to assemble glowing logs for their new home.
A quick rustle sounds as the Cactus Lake Chimeras join the group to assist with the heavy lifting in the night.
A heavy thud sounds as Nam Ki-sok hammers a glowing log into the earth, noting that chimeras don't get tired.
Looking over his shoulder, the Hawkman wonders why the bald man is still hanging around the worksite.
A loud, defiant shout sounds as the bald man insists he is just helping and wants to be left alone.
Gazing across the field, Dawon suggests they finish their own tasks while Manager Kim treats the blue drake's feathers.
A soft hum sounds as Dawon tells his companion to wait while the alchemist focuses on his delicate work.
A moment of quiet focus follows as the black-haired man closes his eyes and prepares for the next step.
Looking at the gathered chimeras, Dawon declares that anyone living there must contribute to the tribe's growth.
A soft chuckle sounds as Nam Ki-sok watches Dawon, wondering if his friend is finally finding some peace.
A soft step sounds as Dawon walks through the grass with Nari, planning to install the remaining fence pieces.
A sudden cold snap sounds as Nari freezes in place when Dawon asks if she is reconciled with her friends.
Looking down with a worried expression, the girl fears that the man has finally uncovered her true secret.
A soft hum sounds as Dawon calls the girl by her real name and assures her that no one is coming for her.
A soft rustle sounds as Dawon gestures to the glowing logs, explaining that he has handled all their pursuers.
Looking up at the tall man, the girl is stunned as he proposes they form their own tribe called Coconut.
A sudden golden glow sounds as Nari looks up in awe while Dawon officially names their new community.
A soft sob sounds as the girl offers her tearful gratitude, finally feeling like she has a place to belong. A loud, joyful cheer sounds as Nari runs toward the village to announce the birth of the coconut tribe.
A soft hum sounds as Nam Ki-sok notes the successful talk while the dazed bald man looks on from behind.
A sudden, brilliant flash sounds as the entire perimeter of the home is enclosed in a beautiful, glowing fence.
A soft rustle sounds as Nari gleefully pounces on her fox friend, celebrating their new and safe life together.
A soft chuckle sounds as Dawon watches the children play, reflecting on the simple joys of youth.
A loud, sudden screech sounds as Blue, the drake, descends from the sky to greet its master.
A soft nuzzle sounds as the massive bird affectionately rubs against Dawon, who notes the creature is still just a baby.
A soft hum sounds as Dawon notices that the drake's tail feathers have already begun to glow with health.
A quick step sounds as Manager Kim approaches, prompting Dawon to wonder how the healing was so incredibly fast.
A soft hum sounds as Manager Kim explains that he used a special red moss with top-grade healing properties.
A sudden, sharp gasp sounds as Nam Ki-seok stares in disbelief at the miracle performed by the alchemist.
A soft whisper sounds as the bald man leans in and asks Manager Kim if he has any cures for hair loss.
A sudden, loud crackle sounds as Manager Kim reacts with absolute shock to the man's unexpected question.
A soft chuckle sounds as the alchemist admits he has been working on a hair loss remedy for a decade.
A loud thud sounds as the bald man prostrates himself while Dawon notes his workers' extreme excitement. Nam Ki-sok and the skull-masked girl look startled as Manager Kim mentions examining their feathers.
A soft hum sounds as the alchemist studies a complex, ancient magic circle he's never seen before. Dawon looks on with wide-eyed surprise. Dawon asks about the red fruit, leaving the bald man stunned by his knowledge of mandragoras.
The narration explains that an intact mandragora fruit can only be obtained if the creature gives it willingly.
A small creature hides in rocks. Manager Kim frantically takes notes, wondering how his companion possesses such rare and valuable information.
Dawon smiles, noting his mandragora history.
A flashback reveals test subject 17 being sent to survive alone in the demon realm for 10 days.
A soft whistle sounds as young Dawon finds the demon realm's fresh air quite pleasant.
A soft rustle sounds as the boy pauses, his attention drawn by a strange noise nearby.
A quick snap sounds as a chance.
Looking down at the snow, the boy discovers an injured mandragora and wonders if it was attacked.
A soft rustle sounds as he listens.
A quick snap sounds as he looks.
An injured creature shivers in snow.
Looking at the battered creature, the boy wonders if something aggressive attacked it recently.
A soft rustle sounds as he reaches.
A blinding flash sounds as impact occurs. A heavy thud sounds as the boy notes the mandragora's critical condition and imminent collapse. The young boy stares in shock.
A soft hum sounds as the boy wonders why he is feeling sorry for a mere monster.
A heavy thud sounds as the boy kneels, noting the creature is falling asleep from the mana flow. A soft snore sounds as the mandragora sleeps while the boy considers keeping it for a few days. A soft crunch sounds as the boy treks through the dark, snowy woods later that evening. A soft chirp sounds from the boy's pack as he discovers a cave to shelter for the night.
A soft chirp sounds as the mandragora scurries around the fire after regaining energy from eating mana.
A soft hum sounds as the boy realizes the creature is thirsty and apologizes for his oversight. A soft splash sounds as the boy pours water, telling the excited mandragora to stay still. A sharp gasp sounds as the mandragora freezes while the boy jokes about it dancing with happiness.
A quick rattle sounds as the creature scurries away, prompting a confused question from the boy. A blinding flash sounds within the cave.
A soft chirp sounds as the mandragora presents a red berry, leaving the boy very puzzled.
A soft rustle sounds as the boy considers the mandragora's gift despite being cautious of plant monsters.
A soft gulp sounds as the boy eats the berry, trusting his high toxin resistance and the creature's sincerity.
A sudden burst sounds as he eats.
A soft hum sounds as the boy feels his mana reservoir filling and realizes the berry contains mana.
A soft shake sounds as it shivers.
Bright red berries grow from its stem.
A soft chirp sounds as the berries increase, making the boy wonder why it keeps giving them.
A soft shake sounds as the boy observes the struggling creature and realizes it's trying to repay him.
A soft chirp sounds as the boy refuses more, insisting he is full and appreciative of the gesture.
A soft gulp sounds as the mandragora eats its own seedless berry when the boy refuses it.
A soft hum sounds as the creature glows, and the boy realizes the species eats its fruit to grow.
A soft hum sounds as the boy feels guilty for accidentally stealing the mana the creature needed to grow.
A soft gasp sounds from the boy. A soft snore sounds as the mandragora chooses to sleep in the boy's lap instead of the rocks.
Smiling down at his new companion, the boy finds the creature fascinating and wishes it a good sleep.
A sudden roar sounds from the darkness outside the cave as the boy senses the arrival of monsters. Snarling blue apes with glowing horns lurk in the snow, hunting for the energy-packed fruit produced by the small creatures.
A soft glow surrounds the black-haired man holds a cracked shell, promising to look after the creature inside as long as they are together.
A steady hum sounds as Dawoon stands by a campfire with his monster arm, vowing to protect the small creature in his hands.
Dawoon treks through the snowy woods with a backpack while a blue lizard creature watches him from a tree branch. A sudden swish sounds as Dawoon's transformed arm punches through the air while he walks through the winter landscape.
A rhythmic tap sounds as Dawoon rests on a fallen log, gently interacting with the little creature sitting on his arm. Standing before the snowy peaks at sunset, Dawoon reflects that it is time to return and match the teleportation spell the laboratory placed on him. Dawoon looks down at the small creature hiding under leaves, finally understanding why he felt so sorry for the little guy.
A heavy thud sounds as Dawoon recalls a past memory of himself lying face down and defeated in the snow.
A soft chirp sounds as Dawoon explains to the creature that he must leave or he will die from the spell bound to his body.
A gentle rustle sounds as Dawoon notes that taking the creature to the human world would only lead to it becoming an experiment just like him. A metallic clang sounds as Dawoon observes a cave entrance sealed with a safety device made of protective silkworm thread. A soft pat sounds as Dawoon kneels in the snow, ensuring the creature is prepared so it doesn't get attacked while traveling.
A sharp snap sounds as Dawoon ties a string around the creature, telling it to wear the item properly and not to lose it.
A joyful giggle sounds as the small creature reacts with pure happiness to the gift from the black-haired man.
A quick click sounds as Dawoon bids the creature farewell and begins to walk away, much to its sudden surprise.
Rhythmic pitter-patter sounds as the small creature cries out and frantically chases after Dawoon as he departs. A sudden flop sounds as the creature trips in the snow while Dawoon tells it to take care of itself.
A loud wail sounds as the abandoned creature cries out in deep sadness at the separation.
A loud sob sounds as two hunters embrace each other while crying hysterically in the background.
A soft scratch sounds as the Birdman asks what happened next, and Dawoon explains that he returned to the site 2 weeks later.
Standing before a rock-filled slope, Dawoon explains that a landslide had destroyed the cave, leaving no trace of the creature behind. Looking downcast and full of regret, the black-haired man whispers a quiet apology for what happened.
A warm glow sounds as Dawoon expresses his hope that the little creature somehow managed to stay alive despite the disaster.
A powerful wind sounds as snow blows across the vast and desolate mountain ranges.
Rhythmic stomps sound as a massive army of mandragoras marches together across the snowy plains.
The scarred monarch Mandragora stands at the front of the pack, letting out a determined chirp of leadership.
Dawoon looks toward the horizon, suggesting they return to the snowy mountain to find the creature he hopes is still alive.
A soft hum sounds as Dawoon questions why a garden was built in the demon realm, while Manager Kim wonders if the little creature could have survived.
Looking delighted, the manager notes how much Dawoon must love mandragoras, prompting the black-haired man to share a new discovery.
A joyful giggle sounds as Manager Kim plays with the creatures in the garden, while Dawoon warns that even the manager needs to be cautious.
A soft twitch sounds as Dawoon explains that his cell transplant taught him that healthy mandragoras possess a unique true ability.
A sharp vacuum sound begins as the Mandragora starts to glow, revealing its nature as a living mana vacuum cleaner.
A powerful whoosh sounds as the creatures drain the mana from the panicking manager, who notes their incredible appetite for the energy they've grown accustomed to. A terrified gasp sounds as Manager Kim realizes he is being completely drained of his power by the small creatures.
A heavy thud sounds as the manager collapses to the ground, prompting a terrified hunter to run over to assist him.
Lying defeated in the grass, Manager Kim insists he isn't dying, while a narration confirms the A-class alchemist's complete defeat by the creatures.
A wet splat sounds as the mandragoras vomit in the garden, leading Dawoon to wonder if they are simply picky eaters who prioritize quality over quantity.
The scene shifts to the office of Assemblyman Park Woo-jung in Gold City, where a group of powerful individuals discusses an attack on Hanbit Laboratory.
Jessica, the white-haired CEO, laments that the money she invested in mechanical creatures has become worthless overnight.
Looking stern with her arms crossed, Violet asks the group what they intend to do about the massive financial loss.
A sharp top sounds as Chairman Jang expresses concern over a new investigation launched by the Hunter Association president.
A quick click sounds as President Go mocks the others for being afraid of the association president, whom he considers a powerless old man.
A heavy slam sounds as the mustached man argues with the president, who casually asks if he said anything wrong.
A sinister chuckle sounds as a blonde man in a lab coat and black gloves promises to keep the entire situation under control.
A soft whoosh sounds as the blonde man observes that strange people always appear in state matters, but he remains confident in his plan.
Standing tall, the man in the lab coat reveals he has found information about a large mandragora habitat on the snowy mountain summit.
Looking stunned, the group questions who could possibly climb to a summit that even the best A-class hunters avoid.
A high-pitched hum sounds as the man points to a map, ordering the recruitment of A-class hunters to head for the mountain's mid-slope instead.
Looking confused, the mustached chairman asks why they are heading to the mid-slope if the primary habitat is located on the summit.
A man in a suit smiles as he explains that an unprecedented transference ability user has appeared to help them.
A soft top sounds as a boy arrives at a desk and explains he's there to get his awakening status measured.
A soft chuckle sounds as the boy reveals his name is Oh Bong-soo.
A soft whistle sounds as a caption notes that an A-class hunter troop makes high-altitude expeditions feel easy.
A soft step sounds as hunters discuss a kid with an insanely long transference distance who is key to the mission.
Looking ahead with glowing blue eyes, the boy wears a white hood while a hunter wonders how an F-class crossed the gate.
A soft hum sounds as hunters discuss how using amplification on an F-class could kill him. The narration introduces the expedition leader, a man with a top knot who uses an amplification ability.
A soft rustle sounds as the masked puppeteer rests his hand on the boy's shoulder to activate his ability.
A sudden crackle sounds as the ability starts and the boy reaches out his hand to begin the transference.
A sharp gasp sounds as the boy's eyes glow yellow and he bleeds from the mouth while using massive power.
A quick rustle sounds as small, round plant creatures called mandragoras suddenly appear in the snow.
A soft chirp sounds as a large pack of mandragoras surrounds the group of hunters in the white landscape.
A heavy thud sounds as the boy collapses, and a hunter shouts at the others to see what they are doing.
A sudden whoosh sounds as a hunter throws a glowing net, claiming capture is first come, first served. A soft snap sounds as the net of light settles over several mandragoras, trapping them in the snow.
A soft chirp sounds as a scarred mandragora with a string tied around it glares at the hunters.
A soft rustle sounds as the pack leader steps forward, standing protectively in front of its friends. A soft hum sounds as a hunter wonders if the small creature in the middle is giving orders as the pack's king.
A soft munch sounds as the mandragoras begin eating the net, leaving the hunters in total shock.
A sharp gasp sounds as the hunter realizes the creatures are actually absorbing his mana and draining the net.
A quick step sounds as a muscular hunter charges forward, calling his fellow A-class hunters pathetic.
A soft hum sounds as the swordsman notes the creature's absorption ability but declares he doesn't use mana.
A loud shout sounds as the physical ability user swings his massive blade at the gathered mandragoras.
A soft tumble sounds as the plant creatures are sent rolling across the snow by the force of the strike.
Looking down at the scarred mandragora, the swordsman calls it the monarch while raising his weapon again.
A loud shout sounds as the hunter vows to beat the creature to an inch of its life.
A sudden clash sounds as a blue blade of energy intercepts the sword mid-swing.
A loud whoosh sounds as the impact sends snow and wind flying across the battlefield.
A sudden flash sounds as a brilliant pillar of light erupts where the two forces ret.
A loud boom sounds as a massive shockwave ripples through the air, startling the nearby hunters.
A soft hum sounds as a hunter reacts with shock to a direct order from the higher-ups while Dawoon appears.
A loud roar sounds as a terrifying dark presence demands silence from everyone present. A heavy thud sounds as hunters groan and fall to their knees under the weight of Dawoon's overwhelming power.
A soft chirp sounds as the scarred mandragora looks up with teary eyes at the man who saved it.
A sudden growl sounds as the dark aura looms again, repeating its demand for silence.
A loud scream sounds as the hunters are crushed into the snow by the sheer intensity of the aura.
A soft sob sounds as the tiny creature begins to cry while looking at the black-haired man.
A soft hum sounds as Nari and Nam Ki-sak watch from above, wondering why there are so many mandragoras.
Looking down from the cliff, the Hawkman suddenly pauses as he notices something familiar about the scene below.
A soft whisper sounds as Dawoon notices the silkworm caterpillar thread he once tied around the creature's neck. A moment of quiet reflection follows as Dawoon recalls being 15 years old and shorter when he first met the creature.
Looking at the creature with a gentle gaze, Dawoon realizes that it actually remembered his mana aura.
A soft chirp sounds as the mandragora wails with joy, its face covered in happy tears.
A soft rustle sounds as Dawoon gently lifts the mandragora into his hands.
A soft chuckle sounds as Dawoon notes that the creature is acting just like a puppy while it nuzzles him.
Looking at the other mandragoras, Dawoon asks his companion if they are all friends.
A sudden whoosh sounds as the scarred mandragora jumps out of his hands to stand before its pack.
A soft chirp sounds as the creature strikes a heroic pose in front of the other mandragoras.
A soft hum sounds as Dawoon wonders if the little creature has actually become the king of the pack.
The creature stands on Tikjos.
Looking at the pack, the Birdman notes the creature is still wearing the thread while Dawoon expresses his surprise at its survival.
The Birdman asks if Dawoon intends to keep the creature, and the black-haired man admits he wouldn't mind it.
Dawoon decides it is best not to get attached since the creature has already found its own home.
When asked how to handle the invaders, Dawoon simply suggests chasing the group of hunters away.
A sudden gasp sounds as Dawoon recognizes the boy on the ground as Oh Bong-soo.
Kneeling in the snow, the black-haired man holds the unconscious boy while the Birdman asks if they are acquainted.
Dawoon identifies the boy as his former guide from the slums, but he pauses as he notices something strange.
A soft hum sounds as the man realizes the boy has awakened and is currently in critical condition.
Examining the boy's energy signature, the masked woman determines he is a teleportation user who awakened only days ago.
The woman points out the mark on the boy's arm, explaining that an amplification ability is currently active.
A grim prophecy appears stating that the boy will not survive more than 3 days at this rate.
A soft rustle sounds as Dawoon prepares to investigate the boy's condition more closely.
A sudden glow sounds as Dawoon's eye shines, and he declares that he finally understands the situation.
A heavy thud sounds as Dawoon approaches the pinned hunters, identifying the amplification user and his puppet.
Dawoon berates the cowering hunter for kidnapping a newly awakened child because he lacked the courage to climb the mountain himself.
Looking at the black-haired man's glowing eyes, the hunters realize they are facing someone far beyond their capabilities.
A loud smash sounds as Dawoon crushes the hunter's head into the ground after the man offers to steal for him.
A sudden roar sounds as Dawoon stands over the group, asking the A-rank hunters what they were thinking when a child crossed the gate.
A soft sob sounds as the amplification user trembles under Dawoon's intense glare.
Dawoon accuses the hunters of caring only about their pay and mockingly agrees that survival of the fittest justifies his next actions. With glowing eyes, Dawoon vows to give the hunters a taste of their own medicine by beating them nearly to death.
Dawoon looks down at the boy while the small Mandragora rests on a fed.
A soft rattle sounds in a flashback as Dawoon asks why the boy is training with heavy sandbags on his limbs.
Looking up with determination, the brown-haired boy explains he wants to grow strong, just like his idol.
The boy admires Dawoon's ability to survive the demon realm without gear and vows to train and eat well to reach that level. A soft wheeze sounds as the dying boy gasps for air while Dawoon begs him to hold on just a little longer.
A loud shout sounds as Manager Kim arrives on the winged hunter's back, screaming out the boy's name in a panic.
A soft crunch sounds as the man in pajamas sprints across the snow toward his fallen companion.
A sharp gasp sounds as the manager asks why the boy is in the demon realm, but Dawoon tells him to focus on treatment first.
A soft hum sounds as Manager Kim activates a glowing green healing circle over the unconscious boy.
Looking down with a somber expression, the healer explains that the boy has entirely exhausted his life force.
A soft sob sounds as the manager wonders why this happened to such a kind child, prompting Dawoon to question the term life force.
A soft sniffle sounds as the healer suggests there might be a way to save him, and Dawoon asks for details.
A soft scrape sounds as Dawoon traces a magic circle in the snow, noting he memorized the pattern long ago.
Manager Kim reacts with horror, explaining that artificial mana extraction is a forbidden and highly dangerous technique.
The healer notes they would need to drain mana from every hunter present, but even then, survival is not guaranteed.
A sharp shout sounds as the manager protests, but Dawoon calmly states that he has performed the procedure once before.
Dawoon declares with a cold smile that he will not allow the boy to owe his life to the hunters he considers scum.
A soft rustle sounds in a flashback as researchers note that Subject 17 possesses unmeasurable mana capacity.
Strapped to a chair and covered in wounds, Subject 17 is used as a battery for a transmutation circle meant to extend human life.
A loud boom sounds as Dawoon recalls forcing a mana backlash to destroy the laboratory and the cruel researchers within. A soft snap sounds as Dawoon pulls off his shirt, asking if they are ready to begin the dangerous procedure. A moment of quiet preparation follows as the scene shifts toward the ritual. Standing shirtless and muscular in the snow, the black-haired man prepares to undergo the mana extraction.
A soft hum sounds as Dawoon sits in the center of a complex magic circle while Manager Kim prepares his own energy.
A soft glow sounds as the healer places his hands on Dawoon's back, lamenting the boy's tragic situation.
A sudden burst sounds as a pillar of blue light erupts, and the manager vows to make the transfer succeed for everyone's sake.
A joyful shout sounds as the healer realizes the life force has successfully taken a physical form. A blinding flash sounds as the mana begins its final transfer toward the dying boy.
Dawoon watches with a smirk as the small creatures tackle Manager Kim, noting they think the healer is an attacker.
A low growl sounds as the scarred creature glares, ignoring Manager Kim's desperate pleas for everyone to calm down.
Dawoon considers sending the creatures home while the healer screams for help from the shirtless man.
A soft breath sounds as Bong Su lies in the snow, finally breathing normally after the procedure.
Manager Kim cheers with tears in his eyes, celebrating the successful treatment and Bong Su's survival. Dawoon notes the irony of his past experiments being used to save a life while the Birdman listens intently. Looking thoughtful, Dawoon reflects on how funny life can be.
The glowing red transmutation circle represents a technique banned long ago due to its potential for life-extending abuse.
Dawoon informs the manager he will erase his memory after punishing the hunters by extracting their mana, leaving Kim shocked.
Dawoon plans to drain the invaders to D rank and discard the excess, earning a smirk from the Birdman. The masked woman watches the groveling hunters as Dawoon decides to let them keep their memories as a shameful lesson. Dawoon explains that retaining memories of their sins might prevent the cowering hunters from repeating them.
Considering a silence spell, Dawoon suddenly has an idea that would make the situation even more useful.
Manager Kim shouts with excitement at the proposal of having his own laboratory within the demon realm.
A quick dash sounds as the manager runs off to prepare, while Dawoon plans to give him even more work.
Dawoon asks the Birdman to watch the hunters while he prepares to depart for another destination.
A soft chirp sounds as Dawoon holds the scarred creature, deciding it is time to take it back home.
Sharp claws crunch into the snow.
A massive blue parrot waits in the snow as Dawoon approaches with his bag.
Returning to the snowy plains, Dawoon releases the creatures as they chirp with excitement. Dawoon watches the happy creatures, observing that both humans and monsters find comfort in returning home.
Looking at the scarred creature, Dawoon realizes he cannot take the monarch away from its pack.
Dawoon kneels in the snow, promising the little creature that they will see each other often.
A soft rustle sounds as the creature runs off, prompting Dawoon to wonder where it is going.
Dawoon follows the creature as it heads away from its usual habitat toward a distant cave.
Entering the dark cavern, the black-haired man notes its similarity to a place from his past.
Dawoon observes that the cave is remarkably clean and filled with tracks, suggesting frequent use.
Standing by a crevice, the creature chirps, leading Dawoon to recognize where it used to create its fruit.
A joyful chirp sounds as the small creature bounces happily in its old home. A soft hum sounds as Dawoon sees a group of creatures emerge, wondering if they were searching for their leader. An elderly creature with a mustache appears, making a soft, questioning sound.
A sudden thud sounds as the elderly creature and the scarred monarch reunite.
The scarred creature chirps nervously as it presents itself to the group. Dawoon watches the interaction, realizing the little creature has officially passed on its title of monarch.
A happy cry sounds as the scarred creature celebrates its reunion with its family.
A soft crackle sounds as Dawoon sits by a warm campfire inside the cave.
Dawoon smiles warmly at the fire.
The black-haired man reflects that everyone eventually finds the place where they truly belong.
Sitting alone under the stars, Dawoon finds a moment of peace by the flames. Bongsu stirs in his hat. Opening his eyes, the boy is startled to see the Birdman and masked woman standing over him.
A loud scream sounds as the terrified boy scrambles back while the Birdman notes his quick recovery. Bongsu panics at the sight of the monsters while the Birdman confirms the boy's identity. The masked woman welcomes the horrified boy to the demon realm.
A quick tap sounds in a flashback as a receptionist congratulates Bongsu on becoming an awakened.
A fast sprint sounds as the boy runs off, eager to share the news with Mr. Park.
A sudden stop sounds as a hooded man with goggles intercepts Bongsu in the hallway.
The hooded man identifies Bongsu as a transference user and offers a sinister greeting as a senior hunter.
The man offers a soda to the surprised boy. Bongsu beams with joy, thanking his senior for the welcome tea intended to help his mana. A sharp grind sounds as Bongsu bites his lip, bitterly reflecting on the low expectations society has for orphans from the slums. A majestic blue bird soars across the vast snow-covered landscape.
Looking surprised, the black-haired man utters a confused sound.
A sudden whoosh sounds followed by a firm thud as Dawoon lands in the snow, asking the Birdman if construction on the laboratory has already begun. Rhythmic grunts sound as the hunters are forced into hard labor, carrying massive logs and leveling the frozen ground for the new frame.
Dawoon notes to the Birdman that he is pleased with how obedient the hunters remained during the mana extraction.
A chilling aura surrounds as the masked woman sits atop a pile of beaten men, casually mentioning she gave them a necessary education.
A soft murmur sounds as the groveling hunters complain about losing their mana just because a slum child almost died. Glowing with fury, an A-class hunter screams that it took him 20 years to reach his rank only to be demoted to D-class just to make money.
A heavy thud sounds as the Birdman stands over a falling captive and coldly calls for the next one in line.
A quiet whisper sounds as the hunters wonder if they should fight back, noting they are facing 2 disaster-class monsters.
A sudden crunch sounds as the masked woman's foot slams into the head of the hunter wearing goggles. Standing tall over the rubble, the winged woman mockingly asks the hunters what they think teaming up would actually achieve against her.
A flurry of heavy thud sounds as the Birdman tells Manager Kim that the masked woman really needs to learn how to control her temper.
Looking down coldly, the woman tells the groveling hunters to stop being a nuisance and give her the information she wants.
A sharp crackle sounds as the masked woman demands the hunters choose between surrendering their mana quietly or facing a painful death.
Dawoon and the Birdman sweat drop as the masked woman's terrifying screams force the hunters to beg for forgiveness.
Looking at the half-finished wooden frame, Dawoon expresses his confidence in the hunter's ability to build a proper house.
A soft shuffle sounds as Manager Kim runs to Dawoon, reporting that all of the hunter's mana has been successfully disposed of as commanded.
Dawoon asks about Bongsu's condition, and the manager explains he is physically recovered but currently in a state of shock.
Looking somber, Manager Kim asks the black-haired man if he would like to visit the boy now.
Bongsu excitedly greets Dawoon as his senior, but the man tells him to drop the formalities and just call him brother.
Dawoon observes that the boy's hair has developed a white streak and his mana capacity has grown immensely due to the transfer.
Looking down with a dejected expression, Bongsu admits that he feels completely useless after the recent events.
A soft drip sounds as the boy begins to cry, lamenting how easily he was tricked and worrying about how he will live moving forward.
A heavy footstep sounds as the hunters look on in fear, watching Dawoon approach them with a cold and focused gaze.
A sudden grab sounds as Dawoon hauls up the goggled hunter by his collar, confirming that he is the one who manipulated the boy.
Dawoon explains to the group that this man used a puppeteer spell combined with lies to control the young boy's actions.
Lying defeated in the snow, the hunter realizes he has lost his ability, but warns that more people like him will inevitably appear. With newfound resolve, Bongsu looks on with determined eyes, vowing to ensure that no one else ever falls for such tricks again.
Dawoon orders the hunter to return to his labor and publicly credits Bongsu as the one who truly saved everyone's lives. Pointing forward, Dawoon announces that Bongsu will begin formal mana training under the guidance of Manager Kim.
The Birdman offers a word of encouragement to the boy, revealing that he also knows what it is like to come from the slums.
A soft sniffle sounds as Bongsu cries tears of pure relief and happiness at the unexpected support.
A gentle pat sounds as the manager pulls the crying boy into a warm, fatherly hug while the monsters watch with soft expressions.
Dawoon smiles warmly, thinking to himself that if he raises Bongsu well, the boy might even surpass his previous prodigy.
The Birdman asks about the Mantragora, and Dawoon explains that it chose to pass its monarch thread to another of its kind.
A soft brush sounds as Dawoon gently pets the small creature resting on his shoulder, noting how unusual it is for a monarch to retire.
A sudden burst sounds as Dawoon prepares to leave the laboratory site, telling the group he is counting on them to finish the work.
A quick dash sounds as the black-haired man leaps away, heading toward his next destination.
The Birdman watches him disappear, casually remarking to the group that the man is a total psycho. The masked woman smiles under her mask, noting that a man with nothing to lose truly has nothing to fear.
A powerful gust sounds as the giant blue parrot carries Dawoon across the vast and cloudy skies.
A heavy crunch sounds as a black boot steps onto the lush green grass of a hidden, sunlit valley.
Waving to the surprised residents, Dawoon arrives at the village and asks everyone if they have been doing okay in his absence. A rapid pitter-patter sounds as a young girl runs toward Dawoon, crying that two of their companions have suddenly gone missing.
A soft rattle sounds as two small shivering bluebirds huddle together for warmth inside the shadows of a dark cavern.